Alright everyone, welcome back to another episode of Speedruns From the Crypt. It is your bi-weekly horror hotfix where we show off all of GDQ's spookiest games. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. On tonight's episode of Speedruns From the Crypt, we're going to be showing you a pretty charming game, a unique one. We're definitely going to be going into the realm of, this is a much longer game, so we only have one run for the night. Before we get into that though, I do just want to say that in addition to that, on October 31st, myself and Smooth Operative are going to be hosting a Halloween Spooktacular. It's going to be a whole day of spooky games from a variety of runners, and hopefully people will be in costume because it's Halloween. That should be a fun time. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into a pretty long run from a pretty unique game. We're going to be having Deadly Premonition 2 featuring Punchy. Take it away.
Hello everyone, I'm Punchy, this is Deadly Premonition 2, and since this run is in fact quite long, I'm just going to start in 5 and we'll get into the explanations once we've done. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, video games. We've begun. December 30th, 2018. There is no need for a long intro when dealing with Deadly Premonition 2, we're just going to play the game. And we'll introduce things as we go, there's plenty of time to cover all the ground here.
God damn it.
Alright, so this is us, we're Leah Davis. We're investigating a crime in the present. This game is both a sequel and a prequel, therefore compressing the narrative is going to entail explaining the events of the previous game and this game, and past a certain point that entails compressing about 40 hours worth of storytelling into 3 hours. So I'm not going to go into much detail. You're getting the Cliff Notes version here. I have interrupted Simon's ramblings. But yes, the game is broadly speaking split into two halves. Halves is a bit generous, this segment doesn't actually last very long, where we spend some time investigating Francis Morgan's apartment as Aaliyah by clicking on stuff and mashing text. This run starts with Francis Morgan over there smoking the weed. Let that set the tone for this game. We get a tutorial there that we can use like some of our vision juice in the top left, which the gauge isn't visible right now because I'm not in that mode, to highlight the items that are necessary to click on and which ones are not. Right now it's like sort of it kind of takes the form of something vaguely point and click adventure sort of deal. But this segment is short-lived in favor of a more open-world, third-person action game thing, but this is how this is why I just started going immediately, because bluntly this is text mashing. But yes, right now we're investigating Morgan in the present over a previous murder case that he investigated in the past, and eventually we'll snap to his perspective in the past to see what happened during that, and it goes back and forth and sort of connects the perspectives, blah blah blah. Mystery stories, wow! What a concept. Oh yes, and platform explanation. This is being ran on the somewhat recent PC port of this game. This game's PC port kind of shadow dropped without much fanfare, so I'm not sure how many people know this game even has a PC port. It released on the Switch originally and was infamous for running at like -3 frames per second. The performance was absolutely dreadful. But the PC version came out, and the speedrun time dropped dramatically. Because on top of much faster loads, performance is more stable in the more intensive sections of the game, the time went from like 5 hours to about roughly 3, hence the estimate. So that really helped. Like, merely just the porting of the game to PC saved like 2 hours on this run. It's like, was there really that much time lost to lag and loads? Yes. Yes, it was. There really was that much time. The things we can do when we can run games at a frame rate. Truly advanced. For what it's worth, this is also like the single longest segment of mashing in the game. During this scene, which I have skipped, we have discovered that Morgan over there has a fear of the color red. And thus he had a bit of a breakdown because we had an untreated cut on our hand that was bleeding. Apparently, like, visibly. He's scared of the color red due to red trees. This is not a spoiler because that is covered in the first game. A game whose events I will not be summarizing today. As it's a whole thing. Deadly Premonition 1 is a good video game. You should play it. And then play 2. I mean, they're a sequel. Like, they form a pair for a reason.
It's from...
Does SSD affect speedruns? Probably. I'm running it off an SSD. I don't know, I run everything off an SSD. This computer has no hard drives in it.
Me. My better half.
Right. 2018 segment thus concludes. That's a whole lot of mashing, and it's like there's no like turbo functionality. You just sort of I'm mashing it manually like this under this. That's why I'm wearing a wrist brace actually. Take care of yourselves, people. This is a preventative measure. My wrist is not currently injured, but this is to make it so that it does not like become injured. This is in fact dialogue mashing, but I'm also mashing the analog stick because there's dialogue choices that you can't see. Like I can select them before they render in by tapping the analog stick back like this. Funky controller holding position. But right now, Francis is kind of talking to himself in his head. Like, Deadly Premonition 1 spoiler, I guess, so if you haven't played that game, put a pot on your head and like bang it very loudly for a bit here. But basically, Francis Morgan is two. He is two people. He has like two personalities of sort. A Zack and a York. We take control of York for most of the game. The relationship between the two is somewhat vague and kind of vibesy. It doesn't really have like a distinct mechanical overlap. Anyway, now we are York in 2005. That was a dialogue choice selected before the menu came up. To skip asking him about the town. Now we're in Lucare, Louisiana, where a murder has taken place, and we are investigating the murder, and this is where the bulk of the game takes place. Right, see that loading time? You see how that was 2 seconds? On the Switch, that would be 2 minutes. So we are Francis York Morgan. So observe the stamina bar on the top left and how it decreases when you run. But if we tap, we can run kind of at a vaguely brisk-ish pace, but without consuming stamina. Stamina management is a crucial part of this game's speed run. Now we're wearing our snazzy suit. The snazzy suit can get dirty over the course of the game, and if you are too dirty, you get penalized money as you go through the game. I'm mentioning this because this is going to come up later. We have to route around being smelly. If you are too smelly, the run suffers. Evidence organization. Right now we have no evidence, so I'm just mashing through it by tapping analog stick and pressing B. Also, it's B because this game's PC port is so very heavily based on the Switch version that it's both using the Switch button layout, Switch button icons, and literally has no keyboard and mouse support at all. It's only gamepad. It doesn't recognize keyboard and mouse. You must use a controller. Support isn't merely incomplete, it like doesn't work at all. Right, now we're going to pull some stuff out of the toolbox. There's items in here that we need, you see. 2 of these, 2 of you, all of those. Give me your butter cookies. Cool. Those are items that will help us later in various ways. The sleeping bags are the most important because they allow us to advance time on the spot cleanly, up to 24 hours in one go, and we will need to manipulate the in-game clock to proceed at various points. As this game is schedule time driven. Right now we can't see. For some reason you can't see the timer when you're indoors. Like, I don't know if like Francis is telling time with a sundial or something. Anyway, we're investigating this murder by way of an oracle that we're receiving from a skeletal gentleman in the other world that Francis sees in the mirror, when, like, in, well, reflective surfaces when he looks in. This functionality is never, like, that's never explained, that's not a character who comes up again, this is just how he deals with things. So the 2 locations we need to go to are Alexis's Diner and Lane, which is a combination diner and bowling alley, and a food warehouse. The food warehouse is where the body was being stored, the diner is just something York does because he's weird. The funny skeleton man told us to bowl a strike at the bowling alley, so that's what we're going to do. But before that, I'm going to purchase 3 sleeping bags off this guy. Thank you. I need those sleeping bags for later. So now I have 5 sleeping bags, which is the maximum number of times I need to advance time by manually. Sleeping bags have a habit of breaking after use. So you need exactly 5. in the worst case scenario of luck. There's a character in that car, but I'm skipping his cutscene, so we're not going to see it. This is Patricia. She will be following us throughout the game, as she is kind of our sidekick character. She possesses the ability to teleport. Like, she can't literally do that. That's like the thing is, with Deadly Premonition, I have to clarify that I'm joking, because like that could be taken as serious, but no, she can't. Anyway, this is the main mode of transportation. This is where Deadly Premonition 2 reveals its true colors as an elite class of speedrun, alongside Dead Rising, as horror game runs that are actually mostly about skateboarding. The key element of Deadly Premonition 2 runs is not third-person shooting, it's not resource management, none of that survival horror stuff. It's actually about skateboarding. That's the true essence of this game, is skateboarding. Remember it well. The better you board, the better you'll play.
More skateboarding horror games.
The fact that there's even 2 is like distinctly very weird. If I had a nickel for every horror game that actually turned out to be about skateboarding to go fast, I'd have 2, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice. Anyway, we would like to use this bowling alley. However, the old lady using the bowling alley will not let us because she is rude. That's the whole explanation. She just won't let us. She's like really into bowling, and therefore we can't use it. I remind you, by the way, that we are an FBI agent investigating a homicide case, and currently we want to bowl a strike because we think this will help us in some way. That's just how Deadly Premonition flows. She bowled a strike. The game didn't actually show us, because why would it? But the old lady, Miss Carpenter, is a deeply superstitious sort. So we're going to exploit an old lady's superstitions for our nefarious ends. So we're going to scare her using occult magics. That's our goal. This is a perfectly logical thing to do. This is how Francis sees fit to solve the problem. Not you came here to bowl. No, I'm out. Getting on the skateboard cuts off whatever Patricia is saying to you, which is really cool. So I never have to hear the dialogue. Anyway, skateboarding over here. When you're skateboarding, stay on the flat ground, the asphalt, because like every time you want to go off the, I want to call it the curb, but Americans don't call it that. The bump, the bit that intersects the sidewalk. At any rate, if you touch that, you bounce. You'll bounce off the air.
We call it the curb.
Do you call it the curb?
Yeah, we call it the curb.
I thought that was a British thing. Pardon me. Boing.
Mean, it comes from there, so I think, yeah.
By the way, Patty,
Camera.
what do you usually do?
Well, anyway, we've entered a voodoo shop. There is a sign that says no smoking. Not no smoking, no smoking. There's a spelling difference, not a pronunciation difference. Okay, whatever. Anyway, I'm in the voodoo shop now. I'm going to buy a funny alligator figurine from this guy for $30. Something has gone horribly wrong here. Deadly Premonition 2 is occurring right now. I believe the game has crashed. Right, that is absolutely not even slightly unusual.
Oh god, Deadly Premonition.
Don't worry about it, the game autosaves quite frequently.
Oh god. I love Deadly Premonition.
I may have mashed the menu too hard and caused overlapping scenes, and then the game soft-locked. That is not even vaguely unusual. I didn't even blink, I was like, I know exactly what's gone wrong here.
It's that type of game.
Absolutely. When did it last autosave? Hopefully not too far away.
I also want to mention that this doesn't really kill the pace either, because I'm pretty sure Punchy had a run last night lower than the estimates. That was I'll just pop back up on the stream here. The Discord one.
Okay, are we good? Oh right, the Discord stream. Sorry.
Yeah. But
I got
I know yesterday you had the run that was interrupted by like a male guy.
Yeah. And
it was
a guy was knocking. A guy came over and knocked on the door, and I thought, "Oh, package." Wasn't package. Door-to-door salesman. Anyway, fortunately, it actually auto-saved during the crash, so like I didn't actually lose any progress there. I just had to reboot the game. The game auto-saves on every major quest completion, which means crashing while unfortunate and like run over, but well, in terms of PB attempts anyway. Like obviously, if I was seriously gunning for PB, I'd probably reset. But for marathons, it's fine. We can just play. Anyway, we have bought the funny alligator figurine from the voodoo shop, and now we are going to completely ignore what it is that I bought it for in order to go to the cold storage warehouse for now. We're going to meet with Melvin Woods, the local sheriff. Try not to bump into him because the game will fine you money if you do that, and I need all of my money for later. This game is kind of vaguely open world, so like you get penalized money for doing all sorts of things like punching random civilians or like bumping into cars or whatever, and the money routing is like tight in the early game, so we would prefer not to eat fines for doing stupid. Why not car? Why skateboard? Because skateboard is the movement system in this game. There is no car driving in Deadly Premonition 2, there is only skateboard. The lore behind the skateboard is that while Francis Morgan over here was driving to Louisiana to investigate the case, he had his car stolen on the way, and the thief left a skateboard in its place, so he just rode the skateboard. And now he's decided he quite likes it, so he's kept it. Anyway, now we're investigating inside of the cold storage warehouse where they were keeping the body. As this is like a small town, they don't have like a morgue or anything. So they simply kept the body inside of a food storage warehouse, which seems very unsanitary to me, but what do I know? I'm not a homicide detective. It is very easy to softlock. That's why I didn't even blink when the first softlock happened. I was like, yeah, that's just a thing that can occur, huh? No sweat, you know, it's like, seen it before. Not that specific softlock, but like the things like that is like, yeah, that happens. That's my bad for mashing too hard. Anyway, this is where they were storing the body. We're going to investigate the scene, in an investigation scene, as the game calls it. Very unsanitary, but at least the game doesn't have food poisoning mechanics. Oh, it does. Doesn't come up in the run, but it does. You can actually get poisoned if you eat bad food. This game has every mechanic. This game has hunger, this game has sleep, this game has exhaustion. Anyway, we're investigating the scene where the body was, and we've discovered there are fingerprints on the overhead lamp, which is interesting, as it would make the killer about 10 feet tall. Do not press a button. Okay. If you mash during that fade out, you'll crash the game. And we've already crashed the game once already. We don't need to go for two.
I have to ask, for how long have you been running this game? Do you just like find out trial and error on which dialogues will mash the game if you mash early?
Yup.
It's
Yep.
tech.
I've got things noted down specifically as like, do not mash buttons here, you'll break the game. And I pass that knowledge down to other people. But there are some instances as well where sometimes things can just go wrong arbitrarily. Like, so it's not always a case of what you do. Sometimes things just kind of go wrong without your input. But oh well. Again, fortunately this game autosaves quite aggressively, so it's rarely a huge deal. You can finish a run, like it's a safe enough run, despite how like softlock prone it is. That's not far enough forward, what are you thinking? Here's a cool glitch. We can't wedge through there, but if we press B to move the cart, he'll slip through, thus saving one pull of the box. Outstanding gameplay. So yeah, this is other. No, I pressed B to let go, and he didn't let go. There we go. This is essentially like a sliding block puzzle. It's very brief. How's the mod scene for this game? Nothing of the sort. There are no mods. I find it a bit weird that people assume that every PC game must have mods. Someone has to make those, you know? It takes like time and effort and stuff. We're picking up shinies here. I picked up a catfish tail. Those are like crafting ingredients that would be used in the game's RPG system, except we're not interacting with the RPG elements in this game literally at all. We're going through the whole thing with completely based stats, no changes whatsoever, we don't need it. The RPG elements are kind of unnecessary, you can beat the whole game with nothing. We're picking up ingredients so we can sell them, because we're going to enter debt at the end of this chapter. And we need to sell stuff to get out of debt. So picking up valuables while we're in here is useful to this end. We must disturb the worker in the warehouse by shooting a slab of meat. I have shot a slab of meat, thus getting this man's attention. See, he's listening to his Walkman. Like that's a Walkman, like an actual one, like CDs and everything. We're trying to find the serpent. This is the flying serpent. It's the Clarkson family crest. It's a dragonfly. This will be on the test. Please take note of it. You have hair envy. Jealous. I'm enjoying it. Enjoy this while it lasts, folks, because right now it is about 3:30 a.m. British time, and I slept badly to begin with. So when we get to the end stretch of this run, I'm gonna probably go from like what I am now to actively delirious.
Zach, we now.
Anyway, problem solved. Now we're going to annoy an old lady. So as you may recall, the old lady won't let us use the bowling alley. So we're going to board over to her house and set up a scare for her so that she'll be too spooked to come to the bowling alley the next day. But while we do that, I am going to punch squirrels. That's not a euphemism. I'm just going to punch squirrels. I don't know what that would be a euphemism for. I'm just saying that's literal. Squirrels are an enemy. Huh?
How do you catch them?
You just walk up to them and punch them. They try and fight you first. Observe the following. The squirrel, aggressive. Punch it. Punch that squirrel too. I need their tails. That's one tail. That's two tail. That's very good luck. That's very good luck. Punch the squirrel. No, that's fair. We need squirrel tails. We need at least 6. And this is RNG. But there's plenty of squirrels. It's very hard not to get 6. Punch that squirrel. They're dead. That's a tail. That's 3. Punch squirrel. 4. Splendid. Come here. Come here. So this squirrel wants to go. And then he's dead. I punched him. How many am I on? 4, I think. I need 6 squirrel tails. It's a surprise tool that will help us later. 5. That's a skull. I don't need a skull. That's a rare drop, too. Shame it's useless in this context. Tail. Excellent. 6. Just
Did
like
you
that.
just say the skull was stolen from you, or the...
Oh, the squirrels steal items from you if they touch you, but they drop immediately if you kill them, so don't worry about it.
Wait, so he stole your sleeping bag? How
Yeah,
does
they can
steal a sleeping bag?
They can steal any item from you in the whole game. It doesn't matter which. But again, they drop immediately if you kill them straight afterwards, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, I've killed enough squirrels and gained 6 tails. That was actually very good luck. I got it off the very first group. Splendid RNG. Are there any blue squirrels? If there's a blue squirrel, I'm going to punch it. It's worth $7. Nope, no blue squirrels. Blue squirrel? Blue squirrel? Squirrel check? No, no blues. There's rare squirrels that spawn in as blue. They're the exact same, but if you punch them to death, you get $7 automatically, and I would like to have $7.
That's fair.
If you could get $7 by punching a squirrel, you'd probably do it too. Don't lie to me. Anyway, here we are at Miss Carpenter's house. It needs to be, check the exact time, 22:30 on the in-game clock. This is what we bought the sleeping bags for. So we're going to advance time to 11 p.m. so that we can plant the funny alligator figurine that we bought from the voodoo shop on her doorstep so that when she wakes up the next day, she'll be too freaked out to bowl.
How about we grab a bite?
I'm now starving to death and being charged for my hotel fees. So as you see, we are slowly sinking into debt. We will address this in due time. Right. Trap successfully planted. I now disappear back to the bowling alley.
Reminder, this is a horror game.
This is definitely a horror game. We'll get there. I assure you this is a horror game. Blue squirrels? Still no blue squirrels. I don't think they reroll their spawns when you're that close. I'm still on the lookout for that. Sources of cash early game are like nice to seize if you have the opportunity. Whoops, I don't do that. Don't bounce off the side. Bouncing off that kind of angle is a bit dangerous, because if it goes wrong, you can kind of just fall through the floor. And that has a variety of poor effects that you don't really want.
Is one of the effects crashing?
Yep.
Oh no.
And now we sleep in front of the bowling alley until it's 8 a.m. That's when it opens. Then we can go bowling.
Also, I noticed, is there a more reason why every time you use the sleeping bag, it breaks?
They're just bad. It just says they're cheap sleeping bags that break easy. You can buy better ones later, but we're not going to do that.
I feel like you can still use a broken sleeping bag, though.
Not in this game, you can't. No. None for you. Also, we now have Frostbite. That reduces our max stamina pool. I'll deal with that. That's why I got the Cold Be Gone out of my toolbox at the very start of the game. I'm using it to treat the frostbite you get from doing this. Because having low stamina means I can't run, and if I can't run, I can't go fast. For now, it's a problem that doesn't really matter, because I'm, like, indoors. And we're also just barely not quite starving to death. We have, like, 1 hunger point away from starving to death, but 1 point is not starving to death, so I'm not taking damage. We must now bowl a strike. This is a whole minigame. Line it up about here. I don't think that's gonna do it. Never mind, I'm a genius. First try bowling! That's actually quite difficult. I made that look free. It's really not. It's a shame the game's softlocked. This early game's off to a really good start. I dare say that if I hadn't had to relaunch the game, the luck I've had so far, and first try bowling would probably put me on PB pace out of the gate. Anyway, both goals accomplished. We gain another oracle, and the oracle tells us maybe you should investigate where the body was found. What an incredible concept. FBI ace detective Francis York Morgan decided to bowl a strike before investigating where the murdered person was found. And he doesn't get around to actually properly investigating the scene until about an hour from now. Like, we're going to go there, but we're going to do something really stupid when we get there.
You know, I get it. I get it.
We're not actually going to, like, investigate the crime scene. Not yet. No, that doesn't come up until a bit on. Melvin is calling us on the walkie-talkie. He doesn't really have anything of interest to say. They're just sort of speaking words. Actually, I guess we do establish through this that Patricia's mother is sick. She is sick. Again, store that in your brain somewhere for the very vague plot outline that I'm sort of vaguely molding here. You ain't getting the details, you're getting the cliff notes. Too much detail to compress. And my general unwillingness to compress it. It's like a lot, and I've forgotten some of the details to begin with. Right, anyway. Private matters thus trampled on. Let's go skate over to where the body was actually found. We don't currently have access to the fast travel network that allows us to quickly move between such locations. Also, even though we have frostbite right now and our stamina is drained, stamina actually doesn't really affect how fast you can skateboard, so when you're on a skateboard, it's no penalty at all, really. That NPC just kind of spawned in front of me. Alright. Fortunately, you can check your quests while you're skateboarding. It needs to be 6 a.m. Cruelly, the game's recommended time to show up to this next objective is always past when you can bowl. So you need to, in fact, pass another whole day of in-game time to advance the plot at this point. It is 100% necessary to do it in this order. Thank you, Swery. Very cool. So we're going to sleep under a bridge for another 20 hours or so. Just advance the whole thing. Now we're starving to death. Don't worry about that. It doesn't kill you very quickly.
Zach, I can't go on. We need to eat something.
I have now eaten all of my butter biscuits and lollipops. This will serve my purposes perfectly. Right, so instead of investigating the scene of a crime, at least, where the body was found, we're going to skip stones in the river. This is a whole mini-game. We're not going to interact with it. The game just wants us to, like, skip a stone. It doesn't matter how well you do it. So, like, this is supposed to be a timing thing, but we're just going to get bad, 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 bad. And we've skipped the stone. Fantastic. We scored absolutely no stone skipping points, thus bypassing any rewards from the challenge. And we move on with our lives.
No, it's now. I said.
But then we see a boat passing by. And that means we're going to inspect a singularity, which means we're just going to look at a funny image that appears in the water. Oh, you see there's a skull in the water. That means we've found something suspicious. This is how detectiving works.
No.
You'd be hyped if you skipped a rock 7 times. It's actually very difficult to not skip a rock at least 5 times in this game. Which is funny, because it comes up again later with the requirement that you need to skip at least 5 times. It is almost impossible to fail this. I'm also going to cure the cold that I got. That's why I bought Cold Be Gone, because now I can use the stamina to its full potential. There we go. We have now not investigated the crime scene at all. But we did find a funny skull in the water, and this is more important. Where is it? There it is. There's also a UFO floating in the air. This UFO is worth $20 if we shoot it, so I'm going to shoot it, as I would like $20. Excellent. Moving on. I don't care what it drops. It's not important. Usually there's just a squirrel in the box anyway. The UFOs have no explanation, they're just there. It's just a thing you can shoot that gives you money. Right, now we have a deadly premonition. We did it. We found the game's namesake. And this is the part where I have to pull up my notes real quick. Yeah, because dungeons actually have a fixed layout in this game. They don't look it, though. So I've got, like, maps on my other monitor here telling me the layout and what kills are necessary to proceed through them. Because Because dungeons in this game form a sort of a... I call them dungeons. This is the horror. Those movies from the 80s. Nope, stop talking. Cutscene. He looks at his gun, the gun merges with his hand, and now we have a super psycho gun. So we're going to proceed to the dungeons. Check out this scissor guy. He says snarf when I kill him. Every time. He had to die because his death is what opens this door. I would like to pick up what he dropped though. Capitano fragment. That's a material I can sell for money at the end of the chapter, which is good because I need lots of those. Pull this once, go over here. I did need to kill that guy. Okay. What did you drop? First aid kit, I can live with that. Snarf. Did you drop anything for me to pick up? No. Stingy. Stingy boy. I would like more fragments so I can sell them for money. Rude. That guy might have just stabbed me in the butt a bit there. The audacity of it. Yes, this is the dungeon crawling portion. But interspersed in the dungeon crawling is... as soon as he's done with his whole animation thing... profiling. So our detective over here has the ability to see events in kind of the past, future, present, while he's in the other world like this. I say past, future, present because it seems to be events from no specific time. Like, this is the past right now. We're seeing the past, but he will see the future at other points. Or the present as events that are happening concurrently in places where he isn't. So right now, we're seeing Lise being murdered by Galena Clarkson while a stylish woman looks on. She is hacking her daughter to death with an axe. That is a thing that is occurring in the murder mystery. It's not much of a mystery, though, at this point. We kind of can see it. First aid kit, I can live with that. Deadpan delivery. I mean, I wanted a fragment. But first aid kit's, like, fine. I can sell those. Anyway, back to dungeon crawling. Ignore all these enemies, they are not mandatory. Shoutouts to Roaming Merc for his efforts in mapping the dungeons for this game. I didn't do anything for this game's, like, dungeon stuff, really. He's the one who went through and, like, decompiled the game and figured out which enemies were mandatory to kill and which ones were just optional. Ooh, high-quality Pulcinella fragment. I can sell that for money. I should shoot that. Yeah. Without Roaming Merc, this run would probably be a lot slower because I wouldn't have taken the time to manually map out every single enemy kill that's strictly speaking mandatory. It's like a whole process. But thanks to his efforts, it was able to be simplified a lot simpler. A lot easier than, like, manually mapping it. Bless the people with the technical knowledge to, like, sort things out. Alright, so when it comes to the scissor enemies, the ones in white are the ones you want to be worried about, because they can paralyze you if they stick that jump attack on you, but despite it being a jump, it can't actually, like, pass over low obstacles like a table or anything. So, like, don't worry if it's that's there. I tried to pick up that item, but the game did not register the input. A thing that happens with some frequency. Right. That's 1-2 done. I separate these maps in my notes like they're Mario levels, like that was 1-2, the other one was 1-1, etc, etc. Now we do a boss fight. First we must shoot the baby. I have shot the baby. I used my charge shot, a thing that I have. I can charge psycho power in my gun, leading to a homing shot of greater power. It's very useful against bosses like this. Rude. That guy ate the shot. Do you mind? I'm trying to kill a baby here. That's not a sentence I should say out loud. Anyway, this is Galena's true form? Question mark? I'm gonna shoot her. I'm gonna shoot her. It'll be good. She tries to swing at you. She misses. I charge. And then I aim for her weak spot, which is a center mass, shall we say. That was good. I skipped a phase. Those were all crits.
I like her giant hand.
She might have to reload. There you go, Galena. Rude. Ah, you're the real one. I got bopped by the real one. I get $300 for killing her, which is great because I need that money to not go into debt at the end of the chapter. Right, I have defeated a cosmic horror. And for that, I got $300. We have now stepped out of the other world and found the actual real-world Galena, kind of just sobbing incoherently in a corner. We're going to arrest her, as a policeman would do. As you know, we kind of know that she killed her daughter. Mystery solved. And now we're going to go back to our hotel room and review the case. That is how chapters end in this game. We review the case in our hotel room, just to make sure we've got all the facts. But I'm kind of going to step through that really quickly, so I'm still going to compress it. But there's one more surprise before we get back to our hotel. Also, note the game time is currently Wednesday. We would like it to be Monday. That again is a tool that will help us later, as the day of the week is relevant. I'm gonna smash right into the wall. Yep, very good. And this character appears now. This is the fast travel system. I'm going to quit because I don't need the fast travel right now. Why Verna's unlocked? It's a joke about Uber. That's what this is. Her last name is Yahoo. It's a internet joke. Because this game takes place in like the past. And by the past I mean 2005. Is 2005 really that long ago? Oh my god, it was. Do you feel old yet? Etc, etc. Right, so it is Wednesday right now. I would like it to be Monday. The only logical way to go about that is to sleep in a bed for 5 days in a row, or however long it takes. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Yeah, 5 days. I may have slept 1 hour by accident, so I'm going to sleep 23 to undo that. Yeah, there we go. Accidentally went through the animation too many times. I mashed too hard. Okay, now it's Thursday, now I'm Smelly Agent, and I'm racking up hotel fees, and I have BO. BO is bad. But this is the reason we advance time to Monday now. We need it to be Monday for Chapter 2, but if we do it while we're in Chapter 2, we become Smelly Agent. And when you're Smelly Agent, every time you walk into a building, the game deducts $75 from you for being a Smelly Agent. And that's very bad, because I kind of need that money to afford fast travel. I can't get bus fare if I'm smelly. But during chapter transitions, like in the jump between Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, the game will restore your BO level to neutral. So if we advance time now, that saves us money over doing it later. But we are, however, draining our bank account with all of these hotel fees.
Wouldn't showering be an option?
The shower's broken.
Oh.
In order to fix the shower, you need to do a side quest. We don't have time for that.
Wouldn't playing in the lake be an option?
No. No. You can use consumable items to fix your BO. Like, you could buy some mint gum or perfume or something, but you do still need it to be Monday, so this is the best time to do it.
I want to tell everyone watching this right now, for the love of God, if you are going out in public, do not use mint gum in replacement of a shower.
It'll be fine.
I don't think anyone here is going to have that problem, but...
Anyway, it's now
Never
Monday
know.
in game time, so now we go end the chapter. Where we summarize the events. Lise Clarkson, daughter of Daniel Clarkson. A weird person stalked her, but Galena Clarkson, her mother, killed her daughter with an axe, and a stylish woman was involved, so-called Professor R. The mysteries remain abound, and we currently do not have answers. And furthermore, we are also in debt. Daniel gets his arm eaten off by a crocodile in the scene, or an alligator, I forget what the difference is. And I am $83 in debt. Do I have enough to cover that? Oh boy, not really. What can I sell? Material. Oh yeah, this is what we got the crawfish shells for. Cool. I'm out of debt. I had to sell more than I thought, though. C rank for being in debt.
What does being in debt do at the end of a chapter?
You have to sell stuff to make up the debt. If you have to sell everything until you're out of debt.
What if you run out of items?
I'm not sad.
Then you have no money.
Honestly.
Oh.
If you sell everything and you're still in debt, the game will let you proceed, but then you won't be able to buy anything.
I mean, we'll be
Like, you'll just have negative money. It's actually very hard to get the game into that state.
Food again. Everyone around here has bad taste. They don't understand things the way we do. It's a
Currently, we're in the other world,
filled with shitty.
where this is happening. I don't know, it's like a monologue.
That reminds me. There are movie theaters and restaurants over there, right? As soon as I get there,
Chapter 1 was probably the most complicated chapter in the game to, like, route out on account of having to work around BO and item management and debt management and so on. Once we get out of that, the debt management isn't really a big deal from this point onwards. But we do snap back to 2019 to click on things in this room once more. Fortunately, this is a briefer segment than last.
So, what you did? But you would
Fierce.
Is that much? I need. I'm gonna.
Now I'm back to clicking on things and mashing. There are many, like, duds in these scenes, so memorizing what to click on is, like, key to advancing these scenes quickly. Sometimes there's multiple things you gotta click on before you can advance to the next, like, part of the investigation, as it were. Usually bookended by Aaliyah having an internal dialogue with herself about what to do.
besides,
All things offer dialogue, but not all dialogue is meaningful. We are now pestering our co-worker for being useless. This is necessary. You must do this. This interaction looks optional. It isn't.
Maybe.
We're currently questioning the fact that every time Francis Morgan over here filed a police report, he always talked about how otherworld metaphysical profiling as his method of sussing out who the killer was. And basically he's like, that's not a real thing, you've made that up. What are you talking about? And York just kind of goes, you can't see it yet, Belle. Ah! While Aaliyah just goes, And the game trying to plays a thing here about how, like, oh, you know, maybe Aaliyah has a power of her own, and that's why she's come here to question York. She's like trying to tap into that power. Never goes anywhere. Never goes anywhere. It never comes up again. Just to like nip that plot thread in the bud. It's like, oh, maybe Aaliyah is, you know, she'll be the new protagonist. She's developing powers. Nope. Nope. They kind of forget about that. Whoops. Now they're drinking coffee that Francis brewed, and apparently it's really good. I'm gonna drink my tea out of my absolutely awful PlayStation mug.
Big.
The handle is in the shape of a PlayStation 4 controller, so it digs into your hand when you try to hold it.
Okay, I have to ask again, because I didn't ask earlier, where did you get that mug? And why did you get that mug?
I found it in the mall and I bought it as a joke.
Why do you continue to use it?
Because it's funny. It's like a terrible mug. I used to have one that was based on a PS2 controller as well, so like there's two versions of this mug for PS2 controllers and PS4, and I thought, when I saw the PS4 version in the mall, I was like, damn, they made a sequel to the worst mug. I've got to own it. It's like, it's the worst mug part 2. Unfortunately, I can't show you the PS2 one because I broke it.
Oh.
I smacked it into the countertop in a weird way, and that, like, obviously this part here, very prone to, there's not a lot of, like, this part very prone to breaking off. So, like, it struck the countertop weird, and the thing just, like, broke in twain.
Now we get it.
Also, really quick, I saw a question in Twitch asking where might you recognize Punchy from. Punchy has done a good amount of runs for various GDQ events, varying between Silent Hill, Chicory, Baba Is You. He'll be doing Illbleed at the upcoming events.
Yay!
And he's been a regular on Speedruns From the Crypt. He runs a lot of games I like.
I just run a lot of games in general. Like, over 90, I think, at this point.
And he may or may not be on the Halloween hotfix.
May or may not.
Probably.
Probably. Right, what am I doing? The one who fired the pistol at heaven. We're solving the new oracles for Chapter 2. Thus finding out where we need to go to. Beds. So the 2 points of interest are the one who fired the pistol at heaven, i.e. the person who found the body, is a lone crawfish farmer in the south part of the map that we gotta get to, and the church. The church has no obvious relevance. This is just a thing he feels like he has to do. Yeah, I run a lot of games. Baba Is You is not a horror game, but sometimes I run games that aren't horror games. A lot of what I run is horror, but not all of it, not exclusively. Okay, so off to the church we go. But before that, I'm going to activate this fast travel. Fast travel locations must be activated before we can go to them, and they are these balloons. But more interestingly, or more usefully for the run, every time we activate a fast travel point, we get $10, which is distinctly more than fast travel costs. So as long as we activate the fast travel points in the right order, we will never find ourselves short on cash for fast travel. There are squirrels vibing again. Do I want to punch them? No, they aren't blue. If they were blue, dabba-dee dabba-die, then I would punch them, but they're not. So they get to live for now.
So they just have $7 on them, like just flat cash?
Yeah, you just get $7 if you punch a blue squirrel, just inherently. The game considers it a rare kill bonus. I have no explanation for that. It's just a thing the game does. Right, so we're taking on the main quest for Chapter 2, which is The Lord Hungers. We must collect items at various locations. We need 3 food items, and we're going to collect these in the most expedient order. But this required some doing. This quest is the reason why it needs to be Monday. Because if it isn't Monday, you cannot get one of the items. Activate this fast travel. Jump straight back to the sheriff's department. We want to buy a can of Spam. from Melvin's LaCroix fish, because while Melvin is the sheriff, he also operates a general store out of a van. And one of the things he sells is a can of Spam. And that's just one of the items we need. This is why I activated the fast travel point, so we can just travel right there. And purchase a can of Spam. Just like that. No fuss, no muss. Then we fast travel again to Alexa's Diner and Lane. Alexa's Diner and Lane is what sells the red beans and rice that we need for the quest, but the red beans and rice is only sold on a Monday. This is why it needs to be Monday. Because if it's not Monday, you can't get this item. This is the sole reason that we go into debt at the end of Chapter 1 to purchase a can of rice.
Is this all it? How that?
Yeah, we specifically tell her, keep the beans in the can for us, please. And the second we tell her that, she's like, oh, the Lord hungers, huh? Apparently it's a thing everyone in this town goes through. Everyone in the town comments on, like, the silliness of the endeavor while you're doing it. But while we're here, we're going to take a slight detour over to that, like, wrench and screwdriver symbol and tag a fast travel point. This is a skateboard workshop. It's not relevant now because it isn't active. Observe how on the left side of the screen there is a skateboard icon that says 100%. That is skateboard durability. It is still at 100% because skateboard durability doesn't activate until you're about halfway through the game. Like right now the board is indestructible. It will become destructible at some point. That point is not now. It will be later. Hence we are tagging the skateboard workshop now for when we need it. We're thinking ahead here. And then from here, we fast travel to Azuli Frida, the voodoo shop. Fortunately, Azuli Frida's fast travel point is one of the 3 fast travel points that are activated by default. So we do not need to manually unlock this one, we can just go straight here. And this is where we're going to purchase our final food item, the can of spinach. Because, you know, that's what you'd buy at a voodoo shop. A can of spinach. Except, oh no, terrible. He doesn't actually have a can of spinach. But he tells us, you can find it in a vending machine. He doesn't tell you which vending machine, though. The game just says, buy a can of spinach from a vending machine somewhere in town. It is one vending machine in the entire game world that has the can of spinach in it. The game does in fact expect you to just look through all of them. I know exactly which one it is, so we're going there. But there are lots of vending machines all over town, and they do not, in fact, contain the can of spinach you are looking for. Oh yeah, this is still a horror game, by the way. It's definitely still a horror game, no questions about it. Paranormal investigation horror game. Look, the complex worldview and unique interactions of Swery's horror games provide a very different gaming experience of horror. Okay, I'm giving a very dry delivery, but I do obviously like this game. I just want to throw that out there. While explaining all of this in like sort of a dry, deadpan way makes for good comedy, I do like this game after all. Oh look, the over 5 miles traveled bonus, I get $50 for free. I like having $50.
What just pays you $50 for traveling 5 miles?
I don't know. I got the can of spinach.
Zach.
Well, weird quirk about the game, and I brought it up yesterday while you're streaming this, and I want to mention it to Twitch chat, because I always love weird foods. Does this game talk about the Sinner's Sandwich, or is that only the first game?
Only the first game. That's a first game thing.
Would you try the Sinner's Sandwich?
I have.
You have?
Yeah.
Is it good?
It's alright. It's a bit crunchy.
So, for anyone in chat right now wondering what the sandwich is, Deadly Premonition 1, like, offhandedly just mentions the sandwich, which I want to say is turkey, strawberry jam, and cornflakes.
Yeah. All things I happened to have to hand at one point, so I was like, I'm going to eat this in a sandwich. The elements don't really blend, but it's not, like, it's not inedible. Cornflakes is the standout weird thing for me there. Cornflakes in a sandwich is just, I don't get that.
I can definitely tell you I've had worse sandwiches than that.
It's like, there's no reason to eat it outside of, like, Deadly Premonition joke, but it's like, it's an edible combination of foods, I suppose. Anyway, we take the taboo trinity of foods back to Tyrone in the church, except he's also the doctor, because the church and the hospital are the same place in this game. Very efficient use of space. And he tell us we need squirrel tails, anaconda skins, and a pressed white guara flower. This is what we got the tails for earlier. Do not leave the room too quickly or you'll break the quest. I'm going to walk to the door, slowly, and there we go. That has triggered, we are safe to continue. If you run to the door and leave too quickly before the game can successfully go, oh wait, you've already got 6 tails, great, you've already cleared this part of the quest, you'll brick the progression. So just, like, chill a moment before you, like, go sprinting out of the room. Yes, that's why we took care of the squirrel tails ahead of time for this quest. As for the anaconda skins, while this quest is active, the game spawns like 8 of them inside of the park directly next to the church. They're not here if the quest isn't active. But while the quest is active, the game basically gives you them for free. And they're normally actually a pretty rare drop, obtained from just clicking on random shinies around the town. So trying to acquire 6 before this point is generally not very practical. The best thought experiment I had was abusing an item duplication glitch. To that end, it didn't really work out. Like, I mean, the glitch works. It's very practical if you want to get, like, 100%. But in terms of speed, nah, just do it this way. It's fine. Do it the quote-unquote intended way. And that's 6 anaconda skins. Perfect. But we're still missing a pressed white guara flower. But York knows a person who's into flowers, the bellboy back at the hotel. We are going to ignore this, for now. We're not going to deal with the flower for a moment, because right now we're in proximity to the next quest, which is to talk to the guy who found the body. You know, while we're messing around with, like, weird foods and anaconda skins, the more sensible objective of talk to the person who found the murdered girl has been getting sidelined for a bit here while we run around and do stupid things. So we're gonna go talk to this guy. Problem, however, he lives on, like, the butt end of the map.
So, wait a minute. So it's been about, let's say, I don't know, a week and some change in-game time, right?
Yes.
And York still hasn't actually gone to the crime scene to investigate the body.
Nope. The body's missing, for what it's worth. Like, he's not just ignoring the body, they don't have one. But the scene, no, he's not investigated it properly. Witness interrogation? Nope. The problem is that the guy we would like to talk to is on the other side of this giant rail car. I'm letting this cutscene play out because, frankly, it's really funny.
Okay, Zach. It's time to put our skills to the test.
I'm letting this one rock. Because this one's funny, and I'm... Takes a big run up. Goes for a sick jump. Nope, completely beefs it. Super beef. Absolutely sucks.
Why did the wheels just fly off?
Our board's broken. It broke. You know how I said skateboard durability wasn't a thing until, but would kick in at a certain point?
Yeah, I please, but...
It kicks in now.
You know, I own a skateboard now, but I'm trying to assemble it. Do boards just explode at some point if you use them too much?
Maybe not that dramatically, but like, yeah. They do require like maintenance and repair and stuff like that. Wheels ideally shouldn't snap off while riding. You can like really hurt yourself with that. But anyway, our board is broken now, meaning I can't ride it, so we have to kind of just stutter step our way to the nearest fast travel point. This is why we tagged the fast travel point outside of the skateboard workshop, because we would like to fast travel there immediately and get our board fixed. Because this is walking speed normally. Oh no. For what it's worth, we only need to get the board repaired as part of the mandatory story sequence, and then we never worry about it ever again. Boards have a lot of health. You basically can't break them in the course of a standard speedrun. You need to, like, purposefully run into walls on purpose, like, repeatedly to do it. So, Dead Rising runners, rest assured, you do not have to worry about board durability in this one. I used to skate, and I did totally have a wheel snap off the board once.
Is it... How bad does that get?
Not like, again, not that dramatically. Just like one of the, like, bits came loose and it sort of pinged off when I went to stand on it. Fortunately, I wasn't in motion, so I didn't, like, completely, like, own myself on the concrete. I just kind of stumbled a bit and was like, oh, that's unpleasant. Anyway, we meet the resident skater expert, Emma, who has a fantastic shirt. She's going to teach us the essence of skateboarding. I love her shirt. I just want that shirt that just says baptize on it. Very chic. I want to steal her logo. You're so unsurprised that I used to skate. When I say I used to, I mean when I was like 11. I definitely couldn't do it nowadays. But right, we're going to learn how to do a wally, which professional skaters have reliably informed me this is not what a wally is. Regardless, we're not actually even going to do it. A wally is jumping off a ramp, but there's no good reason to do it because the force of the wally is so powerful it will eject Francis York Morgan into the stratosphere half the time. And that's bad. We would like to have that not happen. So we're just going to kind of ignore all of the ramps and skate peacefully around instead while touching all of the flags, because that's the only thing you need to do to progress. There's also money lying around for no adequately disclosed reason. Just a little fun bonus you can pick up while you're skateboarding, you know? Yeah, you know. Bonk. I gain a bunch of rewards for clearing the skateboard challenge in good time, but without much panache, so we don't get the top score. We've learned a new skateboard trick, Wally, which in this case is just jumping off a ramp, which again, I've been told that's not what a Wally actually is. But I think the people who told me that were just simply haters. I'm pretty sure this game is exactly right. Incense has been unlocked. That's the upgrade system for increasing your skateboard stats. But again, there's no good time to really do that in the speedrun, and it's not necessary. So we're not going to. We're not going to. We don't interact with the RPG elements at all. Another fast travel point to tag. Our board is also now fixed, so we can go places and stuff. That whole interlude is over. Now I'm going to try to go back to Casa Pineapple, but selecting Casa Pineapple in the fast travel menu is surprisingly difficult. If you press one direction, it will not, in fact, iterate in like a list. That is not how it works. I'm honestly not sure how to select cast pineapple half the time. I just kind of fidget the buttons until it takes. Righty, we're back in the hotel and we're going to try to track down the bellboy. Unfortunately, the bellboy is this guy, David Jawara, but right now he's the concierge rather than the bellboy. The concierge won't talk to us about flowers. So go look at the bellboy and he's like, I'll be back in a jiffy. If you've got questions, talk to the chef. So we're going to talk to the chef. As we get up here, you'll find that the chef is also David Jawara. But David Jawara, the chef, won't talk to us about flowers, because the chef doesn't talk about anything other than food, despite the fact they're also all David Jawara. So that's no good, that doesn't help us at all. So you see, the bellboy's not there, but we talk to the concierge and find, oh, be back here, seek the bellboy, and the bellboy was there. The bellboy, who, again, I cannot stress enough, is also just David Jawara. But now he'll tell us about flowers. Apparently he has the flower we need, but it's in the bathroom. So we're going to steal a flower out of the bathroom. This bathroom has exactly 1 stall and 3 urinals.
Why is the stall that big?
Beats me, because it contains this. This is the one bathroom.
Huh.
The flower's over there. It's just kind of resting on the toilet. We're gonna steal this. Mine now. Okay, flower thus stolen from bathroom, we can get on with our lives. Okay, so now we have everything we need. We go back to the church. We have our squirrel tails, we have our anaconda skins, we have all the food, we have a pressed white guava flower. We can complete what the Lord requests of us. Back to the church we go. Bam, 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 bam. In we go. And the end result of all of this questing is that, for us, the pastor creates a set of bongos.
Just take it, Agent York.
He made drums for us out of all of these cans and anaconda skins and tails and stuff. So now we have a funny drum. This doesn't aid us in any way at all, but you have to do it, otherwise the game doesn't progress. But it did actually help us, because we found the address of the mysterious Professor R. While we were in there, we kind of just swiped it from that dude's patient records, so we have made a massive breach of patient confidentiality in the process of doing that. Thank you, York. Very cool. So in the end, it did help us, but it was stupid. Anyway, instead of going to Professor R's address, we're going to go finally actually talk to the person who found the body. You know, the person we probably should have questioned at the very start of the investigation, but didn't because York couldn't jump over a ramp before. But anyway. Oh, check out this sick job. Woo! Success. Now we must skate through wild dog country. Ooh, rare. I don't need money. That one also gives money if killed. That's a rare kill bonus, but I must pass on it, as it is not necessary at this point. Boing, I'm bouncing off every surface and would prefer not to. Right. We've made it to the crawfish farm, where the guy who found the body is there. And in this cutscene, he basically tells us to go away. That investigation went well. He doesn't like us because we're a city slicker. Is the basic just that. He just kind of clicks his tongue at us and goes, go away. So we go away. To Professor R's house. This is also a good reason to tag this fast travel point for later, because it is the closest fast travel point to Professor R's house, which is over in yonder direction. It's this absolutely desolate house over here that you never actually go into. This is a prop for all functional purposes. Simply there to enhance the world view, but not to actually do anything. Because Professor R is not actually home. Oops. How silly of us. And she will in fact never be home. She doesn't have a schedule like the other NPCs do. That's not how that works. For you see, she is a plot-critical NPC. Plot-critical NPCs don't have schedules. They just are. They're having a whole moment about this. Then the skeletal gentleman, who I still haven't let actually show up on the screen. In fact, I don't think I'm actually going to see that guy's face during this run. I think I skipped every single cutscene he's in. There's a skeletal guy. He gives you advice in the form of otherworldly oracles. We never actually see him. Because I skip every cutscene he's in. He never actually gets to show his face. Regardless, he basically tells us to go get drunk, so that's what we're going to do. Go to the bar and drink the firewater. Read, get drunk. So let's get drunk. I tried that excuse on my boss once too. Didn't go so well. You know, the Oracle made me do it. Is the woman tiny or the player character huge? The woman is like 10. Anyway, this is what we tagged this fast travel point for earlier as well, because this is closest to Owl's Nest. The woman following us, Patricia, she's like 10. She's supposed to be 10, but as is commonly pointed out, and I don't even disagree, she looks like an adult shrunken down. This is because she is an adult model that has been shrunk down. What time is it on the game clock right now? 10:46. It needs to be 5 p.m. Boing. Right, we're going to sleep outside the bar until it opens. This is behavior that gets you everywhere in real life. We sleep outside the bar until it opens. That's just a thing you do in this run, and then we're going to get drunk. Man, I got frostbite instantly. That's not lucky. Now I'm in debt, but that's fine because the debt will resolve itself when we get drunk. We get a bonus.
And you get a bonus for just getting drunk?
Not exactly.
I was about to say.
You get a bonus for curing being drunk, but I'm not actually going to get the status effect. Because when we sit at this bar, right, we're going to investigate the singularity, and by that one we're going to click on this sign that says go. And for whatever reason, inspecting this, the game will immediately award us $20, and that pulls us out of debt. This is consistent money routing. It works out. It works every time. So that's actually abusing a quirk of the game's like debt system, where you can lose money and go into debt, but your money stays at zero. It doesn't go negative. So if you gain money, you can use that money immediately, but you then have to pay off your debt at the end of the chapter. So as long as you can lose all your money, but as long as you gain money back again before you need to use money, you can use money. Does that make sense? I'm not sure I explained that very well. I'm going to cure the cold I gained, because that will be an inconvenience during the dungeon. The debt will pay itself off at the end of the chapter anyway, because you get like a bonus for killing the boss and then completing the chapter and blah, blah, blah. The debt's not that big. It's like $50. The FBI can cover that. And once again, activating this fast travel. This is why I activate that fast travel after leaving rather than upon entering, because I get $10 for it that I can now use to fast travel over to the abandoned factory. It's a bit like working against your overdraft by making sure the fees don't stack in the wrong way. So this game teaches practical advice for real-life financial management. Don't attempt to play games with your overdraft like that. That only works in speedrunning.
You will go into debt.
Okay, so observe the top of the screen, if you will. That is how far I have to skateboard in order to reach the next destination. It is on the far north corner of the map, and there is no quick way to do this. You just have to skateboard it. There is no fast travel to this. There's only a fast travel once you get there, so you have to get there first. Fortunately, however, this will also solve our debt, because while we're like skateboarding the long way to the Clarkson estate, we are basically guaranteed to trip the "you've traveled 10 miles" bonus, which will immediately deposit $100 into our bank account. Once again, the money routing just about works out. Just about works out. It's all actually surprisingly planned. Ooh, a rare dog. Look at that dog. That dog glows and is worth $7 if I were to shoot it, which I'm not going to do. Because that's mean and impractical. In fact, you know what, I'm going to press left stick to have York talk. I may regret this decision because boy can he talk.
Hey Zach, it looks like we were right on the money. Tracing the San Rouge distribution route led us right to Louisiana. You know what that means. We've got a hot hand, and Lady Luck's given us far more favor than she ever has before. We just happened to hear news about Lisa's murder while sitting in a bar during our vacation in New Orleans. That certainly wouldn't have happened.
Okay, please stop talking. Oh no. Well, that did stop him from talking.
I'm glad he wasn't brutally murdered and just sort of rode in the car for a moment.
I tried to get hit on purpose, because like that usually cancels conversations, but I kind of glanced off the car.
Does that not happen normally? Do you normally
No,
like,
normally you take damage.
Oh, I thought that was a feature of the game. I thought you were
No, you're supposed to get hit. Like, you take like 20 damage and bounce off the hood or something, but well, I didn't take health damage, I guess. I just wanted to stop him from talking.
What is stopping him from talking to?
Nothing. I just he can really go on, and I find it hard to like think and do commentary while he's yammering on.
Oh. Wait, you're just gonna let him get hit by a car?
Yeah, I wanted him to stop talking, so I tried to get him hit by a car.
You know, I guess that's fair.
The music stopped because it became 8 p.m. That was convenient timing. The music didn't stop because I got hit by a car. The music stopped because it became 8 p.m. The music stops at late night times. There's also a mechanic we never interact with in the run where if you stay out at night past, I think, about 3 a.m., red shadows start appearing all over town and try to kill you.
Huh.
We never stay out that late, though. We're a good boy who stays within the time.
So, wait, if the town's music stops at 8 p.m., is the town just blaring the doo?
Yeah, it's coming out of the speakers that you can't see them, but they're all around town. No, I don't know. It just there's no night music, so it's just silence instead.
It's kind of depressing.
We're almost there. Where's my 10 miles traveled bonus game? Oh, I'm right on time with that one. That was a solid call. I have such fantastic sense for this game's stupidity. So I feel like it should be triggering about now. Oh, there it is. Anyway, we've made it to the Clarkson estate. I've opened my menu by accident. I have an invisible skateboard. Yeah, there we go. I've made my skateboard invisible. This is normal, don't worry about that. That's not an accident, I did that on purpose. If you get back on your skateboard really quickly after that cutscene triggers, you can make your skateboard invisible for a bit. I just think it's funny. Doesn't serve a practical purpose, I just think it's funny. Right. Now, dungeon number 2. Where the stylish woman, Professor R, is going to try to kill her family. So we've come to try and stop it. That's why we're here. Now, keen-eyed observers may notice that this looks pretty much identical to the first dungeon, and yes, that's just how dungeons work in this game. Turn around, please. That's a new enemy type. They are the door enemies. They spawn padlock crabs. They are crabs that are padlocks. They explode if you get near them. This is bad for a variety of reasons. Avoid that attack. I don't want to get hit by that. Paralysis is really obnoxious to deal with. Like, if you get hit by the jumping attack from those guys, there's a chance it can inflict paralysis, and paralysis is a status ailment where when you press the button, there is a solid, like, 50% chance that you do nothing instead. This is very annoying to deal with. Bong, bong. Snarf, snarf. They're both dead. I got the dual kill bonus twice for that, which means I get $44. Go me. Once again, ignoring these enemies, because I'm just running into the room. Yikes. Ah, I want to get that guy, but he's funny angle. Good enough. Padlock crabs. Paralysis can be cured with an item. I have 2 of them in my inventory. I got them out of the box specifically to cure paralysis should it come up. Ideally, you don't get afflicted by it, but that is... sometimes you are unfortunate, you know? Sometimes you misplay, sometimes you're unlucky, etc., etc. But I've only got 2 cures, and collecting further cures is a matter of the game's item generation feeling kind to me. Which it very often isn't, so try not to get paralyzed. Anyway, this is the past, future, present, except this one's like, this is the future. This is the future Premonition. You know, like the one implied by the game's title. We are seeing future events right now.
Yes.
Which is, everyone in the family is aiming guns at each other. But we can see, via our future vision, there's a bomb in the fireplace. Oh no! They are all going to explode. But hey, $20. So York's like, damn, that's crazy. And proceeds to stand there and think about it for a moment instead of taking action. Only kill the 2 scissor men there. That third one is not necessary to unlock the door. A thing I know just by memorization. This is just that's just a thing. Let me through. Yeah, squeezed on by. Don't need to kill that guy. Don't need to kill that guy. Do need to kill a bunch of dudes in this room though. Nice quick kill. Go in here, kill this guy, you're a necessary kill, you gotta die. Gonna kill those two guys because they're gonna be a problem. Ow, rude. That guy didn't die. Out of the way, please. Thank you. Kill them all. And that guy for good measure. That's all of them. Okay. I was kind of concentrating on that because I was trying to keep track of the kill order. Because only some of those kills are necessary, not even close to most of them. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. Stay away from me. Excuse me. Squeezing on by. Excuse me. Okay, no, open the door, please. Got him. Cool. Good kill order. How many bullets do I have left? Bullet check. I didn't see the number. Does he have infinite bullets? No, just not at all. That's why I was checking, because I'm not sure how many bullets I've got left.
No.
I might need to grab extra out of the box if I don't have enough, which is distinctly likely because I don't think I've got 97. That's not really good. I'm gonna have to rock for now because I can't do anything about that. There are no toolboxes in this segment. Haven't dropped any extra, unfortunately. Oh, this is a new enemy type. It's the door enemy again, but they're green now. The main property of the green enemies is that their head hitboxes for critical hits don't work. Yeah, so that yellow hit, that's a critical hit you get for hitting the head. The green enemy versions of the door enemies, their head hitboxes don't work. Also, I just picked up 2 boxes of ammo randomly, so never mind, I'm good on bullets again. Just kidding. RNG favors me. Yet again. Genius. Is he yelling snarf? Yes. Yeah, now I've got all my bullets back now. I'm fine. I'm perfectly good on this. Okay, so we have to come all the way through here to deal with all of those enemies, to open the door back here. Rude. The dungeons are the horror part. This is the horror part of the game. This is the third-person survival horror shootery kind of bit. You can make your own judgments accordingly. Jerk. I'm not sure how that barrel didn't hit either of them, but okay. Yo, 2 rubber bullets box. Did it actually go into my inventory is the question. Yes, one of them did. Okay, we're like fine on ammo for the rest of the run. That's a cutscene. The dungeon levels are static, they're not random. I've got maps available that to keep in mind where to go and what enemies to kill. It looks like it might be proc gen because they don't have any visual variation, but they are in fact static. They're static levels. Dude, you gotta hit that. This guy has his back to me, which means I can't hit him. That is an enemy type that doesn't play the game. This guy's bugging out and being very difficult to hit as a result. Rude.
Let me control you. Let me
Random bullet spread is giving me grief. That guy just walked into the room and decided to be annoying. He was very successful. Don't spawn more dudes in. There we go. There's like more things I gotta keep track of now during the combat section, so I'm struggling to leisurely talk my way through them because I gotta like keep track of kill orders and junk like that. Nope. Juke those. You don't gotta die. See, that guy doesn't have to die. I'm like pretty confident. Nope. See? He knows. How does he know? He's clever. He keeps track. But that takes a lot of brain power. And brain power is sparse on this 5 a.m. How about I only hit one of them? I beg your pardon. Well, I got hit by everything, but I'm alive, so that's what matters. In fact, I'm not even close to dead, so it's fine. Bartender Cowboy just doesn't show up in the run in general. If you follow the critical path, Bartender Cowboy just doesn't turn up at all. Thank you, random bullet spread. I need to hit this. I need to hit baby again. But, random bullet spread kicks in at ranges like this, meaning that you can point the gun at the thing, and it will dink the guy below instead, which is great. Juke those.
No one can stop my plan. This can't be happening. I'm supposed to...
Yeah, so this boss just like charges around the room, so we get a charge shot on her. Things go well for me from there.
Purification.
That's dead.
If you kill me,
There we go.
no one will be left to tell you.
Skipping that final phase is really cool. It saves a lot of time because that firewall there, like,
No.
eats
How?
the bullets as you're trying to shoot them through to her. So, skipping the phase by just doing all of the damage to her up front is very helpful for fast. And I get all the money from it. So now we come out to the future where we see the events where everyone's pointing a gun at each other, and there's a bomb in the fireplace. The bomb goes off, liquefying everyone immediately. Except for York. York is fine. York is not only, like, in one piece, he is basically uninjured. But the bomb's blast was powerful enough to liquefy every human occupant of the room. Except York. York is just kind of built different. So we failed. We did not, in fact, prevent anyone from dying. In fact, everyone died. They became jelly. They're all dead. So we're going to the sheriff's office to be like, well, that didn't go very well. It's actually because Patricia calls you on the walkie-talkie to be like, my dad's missing. I'm going to be at the sheriff's station. You know, please come help me, I'm scared. Except the sheriff's department is actually closed right now, so we're going to sleep in front of the sheriff's department until it opens at 7 a.m. It's very important you don't overshoot that, because it will screw up Chapter 3 if you overshoot. Don't go to 8, only 7. Notes. I got chills, not frostbite.
Zach, how...
So Patricia's dad is missing, Melvin Woods, the sheriff, so there's kind of no law enforcement in the town now, aside from us, and we are notoriously bad at it. And now our goal is just simply to go back to the hotel and clear Chapter 2 by reviewing the case details so far. Your max stamina is also capped by how hungry you are, so as York is starving to death at this point in the game, our max stamina is quite low, so it must be managed poorly. You can barely run. This is why staying fed throughout the run is useful. But hunger refreshes at the end of a chapter, so finishing a chapter while nearly starving to death is fine. You will start the new chapter with a full stomach. Yes, case details so far, everyone dead. We're not very good at this. This guy, he's a crawfish farmer. Great detective work. The stylish woman, her name is Helena Doman. Crazy. She killed everyone with a miniature bomb. That's about the size of the case so far. The final option is, so tell me, who killed Galena? Oh, by the way, Galena died in a holding cell back when we started Chapter 2. I might have neglected to mention that. She died. The person who killed the first person was then killed herself. So a summary of case so far, everyone dead, we're not doing very well at this. Chapter 3, we're a baby now.
Soon. I'm almost there. Just... please.
Never mind, actually, we're not a baby, we're just very, very old. That's precisely the opposite of baby. Back to the present, for more investigations with Aaliyah Davis. Well, 2019 is the present.
Let me but the
She would.
Yes, we saw the future of the bomb, and we still couldn't stop it, because Francis York Morgan is not actually a very good homicide detective.
She's
And here we start getting to the heart of the present-day mystery, which is that Patricia is actually missing in the present, and we believe that Francis York Morgan has kidnapped her. That's what Aaliyah thinks. That's where we're at right now. We're searching for the missing girl. We think that he kidnapped her in the present. Because he's, kind of off it at this point in the story. Most of what you say is disjointed and illogical. And that's all we get of that line. And then he disappears to the bathroom, where, as it turns out, apparently he sleeps in the bathroom. His bed's in the bathroom. He just kind of sleeps in the tub. Right now, Aaliyah and Simon are talking amongst themselves about the case. How they're chasing a drug called Sang Rouge that messed up Aaliyah's brother. Apparently it's a very powerful drug. Able to basically erase one's sense of self, as it were. So they decide to poke around the apartment. Because we're like, oh, we bet Patricia is actually in this room. And it turns out, in the room, there is not, in fact, Patricia. It's a bunch of weird heads dressed up to look like people who are now dead. Along with a message board containing pictures of people from the first game and the second game's cases. The people who are dead are crossed out, so this just kind of spoils flat out that Melvin is not long for this world. At this point, Melvin hasn't died as part of the plot, but the game does just show you, yeah, Melvin bites it. And that's a mock-up of Lisa's murder. It's in the bed. He's recreating the scene in his room. Now, back to the past, with Agent York. Now, for the first time in the entire investigation, we are going to investigate the place where the body was found. And our investigation concludes. The place where the body was is burnt. There are footprints. And a bit next to it is also burnt. That's what we investigate. What does all of this burning tell us? Nothing. Doesn't tell you anything. He's just like, that's crazy. It's all burnt. Why would it be burnt?
So you clearly love TV shows, but what about
movies? Yeah. So the crawfish farmer shows up and he's like, we all know that you got the killer because it was Helena. Everyone's heard. Now go away. You suck. That's more or less what he says. He shows up to go, boo, you stink. And then he leaves. Chad character. I like him a lot, actually. Oh, never. I tell. There's the skeletal gentleman there. That's his appearance. That's the only time he shows up. Because York sucks, now he shows up to give us a riddle, and then he's gone. And the riddle, basically, go to trees. So he tells York to touch grass, and then to fill the water tower. Because we are apparently now the town's municipal service. That water tower is actually one piece of the quest to fix the shower, which we're not going to do. But we would have gone there earlier if we had bothered to try and fix the shower. Now, order is very important for these quests, because if you do them in the wrong order, you lose lots of time. So we're going to take care of the tree quest first. Fortunately, we already tagged the fast travel point near the trees, so we can just go straight there. Memorial Oak Street. And so we investigate the trees, because an oracle told us to. Go touch tree. But look, there's a destroyed tree. And it has red seeds nearby. Crazy. What could it mean? The red seeds, they're probably bad. Enter a Dalmatian. This Dalmatian has opinions, and he would like to share them with you. And now I must let you in on the unfortunate reality of Deadly Premonition 2 Chapter 3, which is that the next 15 minutes are following this dog. I cannot meaningfully speed up the dog's movement at all. And getting too far away from the dog fails the mission. So we are just going to walk with the dog for a bit. That's really just how this goes. Post your favorite dog emojis in chat. The only tech I've got for you here is that, like, you can kind of get the dog to push you along so you can preserve stamina instead of, like, constantly running out by running alongside it. Yeah, like this. This works a treat.
York is the most interesting detective.
Yeah, a dog shows up and just starts leading us around, so York just goes with it. And this segment lasts 15 minutes, real time. So how are you all doing tonight, chat? I've got a glass of water here.
So,
and I need it.
Are you meant to, like... How are you meant to know to follow this dog for 15 minutes?
Oh, it tells you. It just tells you, oh, follow that dog, and you do. And if you get too far away from the dog, it goes, man, we lost the dog. We should go back to the last tree.
So if you fail it, it's 15 minutes of time loss.
Not 15. It sort of checkpoints at every, like, segment. Like, you move between trees in the game world, and every new tree is a checkpoint. The red trees, and you can see the red tree over there, right?
Right.
That's what we're going towards. When we get to that one, a little cutscene will play, and then we go to the next one, and every single red tree we touch, that's a checkpoint in the mission. But there's no meaningful way to speed this up, because the dog is made of titanium, and even pushing the dog doesn't actually affect its speed. There is another, like, escorty type thing in this game, but fortunately that one can be accelerated because you can push the target forward along with you. The dog, however, is the strongest creature known to man, and cannot be pushed in this way. You could ram into it with a skateboard at full speed, you'll bounce off. That dog is moving at its speed and no faster. Does the game let you fail by shooting the dog? The dog is impervious to bullets. The dog is the strongest creature known to man. Also, Deadly Premonition, one spoiler, but this dog is a demon. Doesn't come up in this game, but the dog is a demon.
What if he...
Like, this isn't just some random friendly dog that's like, oh, good boy, good boy. No, the dog is an otherworldly being, actually. Still a good boy, though, but an otherworldly being nonetheless. My throat is, in fact, a bit strained from the quantity of talking I've been doing over this.
I want to talk about 15
drink water.
minutes of dog walking.
My voice gets a bit of a break here, I guess. Giving very enthusiastic commentary for the duration.
It's one of the things you have to take into account that a lot of games have auto scrollers, but this is what 15 minutes of dog walking.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure 15 minutes is longer than some games.
Yep. I like this game. I do even enjoy this run, believe it or not, but like, dog skip would be very appreciated. I'll put it that way.
15 minutes of walking the dog.
I did warn you about this.
You did. I'm just
You were
about
warned. So when you messaged me about it, I was just like, does he know? Does he know about the dog walking segment?
I understand Deadly Prem is a hot mess of a game.
It's like that. Even the first game has like a dog walking segment. Doesn't quite go on for as long, but it's like the same sort of gist. Actually, it might be the same length. It's just sort of interspersed with cutscenes as you go. The dog also sometimes does this, where it runs around in a circle. That's not random, it's just scripted to do that. Like, that's part of its pathing. It's not like, oh, I lost time because dog RNG. No, it just does that every time. It's just scripted to go in a loop sometimes. Sometimes it's just made to run around trees.
He does his best out there.
Get a load of this ground texture. See, if we were playing the Switch version, this would be running at like 10 FPS. The glorious PC version enables us to play games at a frame rate that exists.
You know, that's refreshing to hear, especially with the state of Deadly Premonition's 1.
Yeah, Deadly Premonition 1's PC port is so bad, I don't think they should be allowed to charge money for it. Deadly Premonition 2's PC port is bare bones, but at least works. Like, it's an improvement over the console version. It works better. There's even bug fixes, believe it or not. I know this sounds funny considering I still managed to crash the game within the first 5 minutes of the run, but it actually contains bug fixes compared to its console counterpart. On the Switch version, you see, there is a bug that means you can't get 100% completion at all. Like, it's broken. It's been broken since the game came out and it was never fixed. On the PC version, it was fixed, although hilariously, they didn't provide patch notes for the PC version, so the only way someone found out was getting 100% again and seeing if it was possible this time. And it was. And one person did do it. And if that seems like it, like, why is that so impressive? Getting 100% in this game. What does that entail? It entails everything. It is a multi-week endeavor. You have to, every single mechanic that we've interacted with in this game, do it hundreds of times. You have to kill hundreds of enemies, hundreds of squirrels, hundreds of dogs. You need to bowl 30 perfect games. 30 perfect games of bowling. I've bowled 3 total. It's like difficult to do. Traverse 500 miles of walking, smoke 100 cigarettes, break like 200 sleeping bags or whatever. It's just like
how long do you
so
think
much
that run
nonsense.
would take?
Literally days. I don't think it could be done in one sitting.
Oh, definitely not.
You'd like hurt yourself if you tried. Oh yeah, 40 game overs. You have to die 40 times on purpose. How many wallies? 100. Again, any mechanic that exists, do it hundreds and hundreds of times. Pick up 2,000 items from the sparklies on the ground. It's an entire thing. I think exactly one person has done it. And it took that guy multiple weeks of like streaming nothing but it. There were entire streams That guy did this is Roaming Merc, by the way, he did it. He's also the same guy who helped me map out the dungeon, so he's an invaluable credit to the Deadly Premonition 2 community. He did entire streams, like entire 4 or 5 hour streams of nothing but bowling. He would just bowl, because he needed to bowl 30 perfect games, and you ain't bowling 30 perfect games in a row. You gotta play hundreds of games to get 30 perfect games. Because the bowling's really finicky. So 100% in this game is quite the task, but at least it's now possible on the PC port. See, I tell my chat if they want me to do Deadly Premonition to 100%, I tell them I want X number of subs, but I increase the number by 1,000 every time they ask. And the dog splits from us and paddles across the river. We can't go across the river. So we must walk. This is the game attempting to play a little trick on you to make you lose the trail of the dog. Because we can't cross water, but you know, you can just kind of go around. Taking very special care here to actually stay on the sidewalk, because cars absolutely can just spawn in behind you and, like, bowl you way over. Like, they don't care. They don't try to stop for you. There's no, like, traffic AI. Cars just kind of go, and if you're in the way when they do, you get hit and you take the damage. Hello. How many subs is it currently? I think it was 6,000 the last time I did the joke on stream. So it should be 7,000 now. Yeah, I think so.
Wait, it went up during this?
Yeah. I brought it up during the stream so the number goes up. Every time Deadly Premonition 2 100% comes up, I increase the price. Because it would eat my stream alive for several weeks. All in service of what? Following a dog around. You get a purple suit if you do it. That could really jazz up your New Game Plus runs as you get to wear the purple suit while you're doing it. New Game Plus is a category in this game. It saves a fair bit of time, because you gain instant access to fast travel points, access to all the board upgrades that make you skate even faster, and high-powered guns and so on and so forth, but you cannot, in fact, skip the dog on New Game Plus still. I'm gonna punch this car arbitrarily. I've set off a car alarm. Fascinatingly, that's one of the few things in the game you don't get penalized for with a fine for doing.
So, smashing cars, fine. Not showering, bad.
Bad, yeah. Not shower, $75 fine every time you enter a building. Punch a car, nothing happens. You need to punch a car 100 times to get 100%, by the way. Different cars. There's just a stamp in the game for setting off X number of car alarms, even though it doesn't do anything. You just have to do it.
Did they pay you for it?
Nope. It's just a thing you gotta do. It's just an action that the game tracks.
You know, I was gonna say, this is like really nice music to have to dog walking.
I could change it by getting on the skateboard.
Oh, they're nice.
I'm getting off the skateboard though. I'm like reticent to use the skateboard during this side quest, because if the skateboard for whatever reason hits a bump in the geometry funny and clips through, I may if I get stuck in the ground with the skateboard, which is rare, but not rare enough. If it were to happen during the side quest, this is not a side quest, this is a main quest. If it were to happen during this quest, I would have to reload a save, which would entail doing the dog twice. So I'd rather just walk so that doesn't happen. Like, most softlocks points in this game, they're not that punishing if they happen. Like, obviously, PB pace, straight in the bin. By the way, dog runs into yard, realizes, oh, I can't run through here. Runs straight back out. Good effort. But yeah, most softlock or crash points in this run, if they happen, PB obviously in the bin, but you can keep playing. You know, boot the game back up, load your save, try again, it'll be fine. The run can continue. But if it were to happen by me screwing around too much during the dog segment and just like skateboarding off ramps and like tempting fate with geometry bugs, that would actually be quite severe. That would be a hefty time loss. And I would very much not like to incur that on anyone. So we'll play a clean and steady game of Deadly Premonition 2. Is this the most time-wasting segment of the run? Yes. The dog walking segment. It's good cardio, though. You know, I'm jealous of this guy. He's getting his cardio walking this dog around the entire length of the town.
The dog also walks him.
Literally, he's pushing me. See? Perfect. Dog walk York. Right, so the final twist this game tries to throw at you for this is that the dog will run through the sugarcane, which you cannot. But I am assuming that you, the player, have object permanence. And realize that the dog is just simply kind of going to, you know, run out the other side. That's it. That's like the last twist it tries to throw at you. We're almost there now. I promise.
It's been a good 15 minutes of dog walking so far. I'm having a good time.
It really has been. There's the last red tree. That rusty dumpster can be opened with a knife. It gives you $100 if you do so. Not from what's in the dumpster. There's not $100 in the dumpster. Just opening a rusty dumpster with a knife gives you $100 as an action. Every time you do it. I don't have a knife, though. And the red tree. We found the biggest red tree of all, and York is like, damn, that's a really big red tree. That must be where all of the red seeds are coming from. Incredible detective power. It's also been here the whole time. It is extremely visible from this distance. Like, wasn't exactly hidden. Ooh, the rare white alligator has spawned in. Behold his majesty. I'm not gonna bother him. He ain't bothering me, I'm not bothering him, you know?
I'm gonna guess if you punch him to death, you get money.
Yep. You get bonus money for a rare kill. And they actually are quite rare. Although, funnily enough, due to a bug, they don't drop items, rare alligators. Like, they're supposed to, but the drop table doesn't work.
I've been enjoying the fact that you've managed to find every rare animal except for the squirrel you're looking for.
Yeah, except for the only one that's actually practical to find in a run, the blue squirrel. Like, the way rare animals work is just that when it spawns an animal in, there's like a 5% chance it becomes the rare version instead. It's that simple. Hey, look, I found a rare dog. There it is. There's another one. I can't do anything with that, though. Right, now our quest, now that we're done with dog following, fill the Holy Allah, which is fill the water tower. It currently doesn't work. There's my 15 miles traveled bonus.
This thing sure looks tall.
Yes, we climb the water tower and we ascertain that yes, this in fact doesn't work. There is a lack of water pressure. I'm not like a municipal engineer or whatever department would be responsible for the maintaining of something like a water tower, but for some reason, York thinks he can fix this by heading to the nearby lake. I don't think this is how this works, but good for him. Now, we were at the lake before, It was part of the, like, dog following quest, but you cannot stack these. We cannot, like, start this quest, then start the dog following, and have the two stack on top of each other when you get to the... Oh, I've clipped through the floor. This is what I was worried about. These are the kinds of things that happen sometimes.
Why does it just make that noise?
I don't know. Will I be able to get out of this? Find out next time on the GDQ hotfix.
So, what do you think of him? Yes, I'm talking about him.
Will I be able to get out of this?
Friend or foe?
Yay! I popped back out.
Just outside the realms of either. Still too early to tell.
Excellent. Yeah, so pretty much every time that you pop off the ground, that can happen. The game does attempt to self-correct for it.
Feels very
So sometimes it's nothing more than a momentary irritation, but if you're moving, like, slowly enough to come to a dead stop when it happens, you have to quit and load a save.
mysterious.
But it's okay, we got away with it this time. We escaped the situation. That's happened to me so many times again, it doesn't even faze me anymore. It's like, yeah, this can just happen. This can just happen sometimes, it's no big deal. Right, we want to investigate the water structure in the middle. But
No, just
the boy has something to say about that. We must defeat the alligators and inspect the pump. We're not going to defeat anything, we're going to skateboard. I can pretty much grind anything. Oh, you got nothing. This guy, punk, got nothing. You got nothing. This guy, nothing. Clean whiffs for all of the alligators. Right, and then we turn a valve, and that's all of the water problems solved. That's how engineering works. If you're ever having problems with a pump, simply turn the thing that make the pump work. And all of the gators now despawn. If you're looking to farm drops from alligators, that segment of the game is actually really useful to take advantage of, because they spawn in greater numbers and with much greater ferocity than usual. Like, there are alligators in this area, but they don't, like, constantly attack you like that. So if you're looking to get lots of alligator drops, to say if you're trying to get 100% in this game for some reason, that is a fantastic time to do it. Yeah, before I was rudely interrupted by nearly clipping through the world, train tracks are no obstacle to York's skateboard. I also know that these tracks don't, like, connect to anything. Like, there's just a rail here. It goes nowhere. It doesn't, like, connect properly. Like, look at this. They exist, but there's, like, they don't, like, they're, like, half stuck in the ground. That's not, like, that's a break in the railing. I don't know. They're just kind of strewn about the place. Nice stop. Right. The water tower is working again. And this leads us to the shocking realization that the water tower is working again. This is one of those things that doesn't really, like, do anything plot-wise. It's just kind of like, oh, we fixed this. Great. And then this guy shows up. Danny's drunk. So this is where the, like, Danny's drunken ramblings are what advances the plot here, rather than the action we just did. Because he just happened to show up while we were fixing the water tower. He cries because his wife and daughter are dead, and we tell him, sucks to be you, bro.
If that other
The last riddle York can't solve is the lady's finger. But it turns out that Paddy knows the answer. Because it's talking about okra, which is apparently a colloquial nickname. Like, lady's finger is apparently a colloquial nickname for okra. Which, is that true? I pose this question every time I get to this point of the run, is like, is that actually true? And I get conflicting reports every time. It's definitely not a thing in the UK, I'll tell you that much. But obviously this game's set in Louisiana. It's a like, Louisianan thing, question mark?
I know nothing about okra.
Anyway, this is the second escort thingy. Fortunately, Patricia can actually be pushed. So what we do is we use our skateboard to recover stamina, and then we shove a child around. Because bullying the child makes the game go faster. I've lost track of the child. There she is. Yes, pushing Paddy will speed up this segment. So bullying a child is in fact speedrun optimal in this case. You're a bit off axis. Get on. There we go. You got to be careful with how you push her though, because you can very easily push her wrong and like get her stuck inside of things. I've never managed to encounter a push situation that couldn't be fixed, but given how this run has been going so far, this will be the time to find it. This is somehow like the worst run of this game that isn't like the worst run of this game. I feel like everything that can go right has gone right. But also everything that can go like very wrong has gone wrong. It's crashed the game. I got stuck in the floor. But the RNG for drops has been pretty good. Real highs and lows of Deadly Premonition 2 speedrunning. Push the child. Practically vibrating. Paddy, watch out for the pole. Push her along. We're almost there. The point that she's pointing us towards is the bridge, because there's a sign with like a food mascot that's like an okra. Watch out for the pole. It's a talking and pointing okra. It's pointing at where we need to go. Like you can see it from here, but we're not like currently right in front of it, so they're not going to talk about it. There we go. And thus we can see the sign, or at least we would be able to see if I didn't mash past it really fast. Do mind the cars. The cars will in fact spawn in and hit you during cutscenes. It's pointing at the control center for the bridge. I can hear a car spawning in. Where is it? Okay, no, never mind. I was being like, I heard a noise. I was like, I'm about to get hit by a car. It is 5:30 a.m. in the UK. I am definitely starting to feel it.
Look.
And this is a puzzle. It's like the only puzzle in the game.
Can you just like brute force it?
York specifically says you couldn't brute force it because there's too many combinations. Chides Paddy for doing it. You have intelligence of the fictional child character, Icdices. Don't brute force it.
You can totally brute force it. It's only a 3 combination.
A challenge.
Fictional child level puzzle solving brain over here, guys. This is what I'm dealing with.
It works.
He's my sidekick now. Anyway, the answer's COH. This is a fixed solution. It's a chemistry thing. And don't worry if you don't get it, because as you may have heard, York will attempt to loudly explain the puzzle while you're solving it, giving you no time to work it out yourself.
Yeah. It really seemed like you knew who Galena Clarkson was.
Okay, so Chapter 3 doesn't have a dungeon, per se, but it does have this segment. And the way this works is that enemies are going to spawn in this little yard here, but only certain ones need to be killed, and the way to know this is to know it. Like, for instance, this guy has to die. Sucks to be you. The store guy doesn't have to die, though. This guy has to die. Shot. You have to die. Rude. Breach of contract. You need to die. You need to die. You need to die. Did you not die? Die, please. Hello? Dude, these hitboxes are killing me. Yikes. Did I get all of them? Yes, good. I have to, like, utilize 300% of my processing power to keep track of what's going on during that. Not just because there's, like, 5 million voice lines playing, but only certain enemies count. Did I say the way to know this is to know it? Yeah. The only way to know which enemies you need to kill is to know. There's no indication. I just have it memorized. That's why I did, like, think really hard while I was doing that. Cause like, do I need to kill this enemy? Have I killed the right enemies from this wave, etc., etc.? It's like I have to think really hard while I'm doing that.
Log. No, it looks.
Because if you aren't like paying attention, that can really get away from you.
She studied abroad.
She studied abroad. There's no indication for what enemies have to die to open the door. You just have to know.
This entry is from right after she became Lena.
Okay, so we investigated Helena's secret lab, and we've learned that we're bad at being a detective. We get glassed, and Patricia is kidnapped. That is what occurs. I'm getting all of my bullets out of storage, because I've got spare inventory space and not enough ammo. Right, so I would like to ride my skateboard out of here, but as soon as I get on the skateboard, the game will kick me back off the skateboard. I don't know why. Just really doesn't like you using the skateboard in this location. Right, back to Casa Pineapple we go to review the case. Honestly, despite the like having to think it through really hard while I was doing that, that actually went pretty well as far as like shack monster kills go. That was quite fast. Oh, bounced off the staircase. Majestic. Charge shotting the crawlers is actually quite effective. I should definitely do that.
But she let it. She wouldn't get that cash. That went to side. No, is the and the us naturally that. Let it find me like the last if that.
And attempting to pass the familiar relationships at this point is not something I can, like, A, my brain power is, like, dwindling. And B, it gets kind of complicated at this point even when I'm not half asleep, but the basic gist is that, as it turns out, basically everyone in town is related. And there's, like, a blood curse thing going on. And the game throws you a curveball at this point in the quest by giving you the quest description, Liquid Sunshine, only one thing can help you now. And the game doesn't tell you where Liquid Sunshine is or what that means. It means coffee, and you're going to get it at the diner as soon as the skateboarding works. But the game doesn't, like, precisely tell you go to the diner to have a coffee. It just says Liquid Sunshine and expects you to understand what it means by that. Anyway, a cutscene plays where we spill coffee on a table, and that leads to us looking at a photo that shows us that, oh yeah, we should go investigate the weird, creepy boat. But first we need to get a good view of where the weird, creepy boat is going to. So we're gonna go stand on the tallest thing in town, the warehouse. Yeah, unless you've also played the first game, it's like kind of hard to follow the events of this game as well, because it's both a sequel and a prequel. Like I said at the start of this run, attempting to compress this game's plot down would also entail compressing the first game's plot down, and at that point I would be attempting to compress about 40 hours worth of storytelling into a 3-hour speedrun where I'm like incredibly sleep deprived, so that is not happening. That is not happening. If you were looking for like the deep lore explanation right now, you are barking up the wrong tree. You're getting the cliff notes. Boing. Here's Danny again. He's guarding the place we want to get to, i.e. the top of the warehouse. But despite the fact that his wife and daughter are dead and he lost an arm, he has decided that we're cool now. He's become a manly man who's going to take responsibility for his manliness. Even though, frankly, he turns around on losing his entire family and a body part remarkably quickly.
Which one is it, Zach?
Anyway, we had a look and we were like, oh, we should go over the swamp. So now we're going to go bug the crawfish farmer to take us over the swamp because he's the one who's got a boat. Wasn't the water tower taller than the warehouse? Yes, shut up. Sorry. You are correct. However, shush.
Which... Hey, oh, right, but if
the ground doesn't line up properly there, so I bounce off it. Like, the road doesn't align with the floor, so when you try to skateboard over that, you kind of go boing. It's floating off the ground a bit. That's kind of the level of polish you're dealing with, where the road doesn't quite meet the floor properly. Like, the road and the floor, they're different entities, and the twain don't always meet. You make him play Simon Says and then make him cry, pretty much. No, what that was is that York was making Avery hold his hand up because we're still looking for a 10-foot tall person because of the fingerprints on the lamp in the top room at the very start of the game. But we looked at him and he's like, no, he's not tall enough. Anyway, Crawfish Farmer over here still thinks we suck and therefore won't help us with his boat, but we take an interest in his amazing stone skipping technique. Chuck will trust us if we can get a score of at least 5 points in stone skipping. As I said earlier, the first time the stone skipping minigame came up, it's actually really hard to not get 5. Let's see if I can not get 5. No, I got 10. I mashed with the worst timing and I got 10. You need 5 to pass this minigame. It's like almost impossible to fail this if you have a pulse.
What happens if you just push nothing?
The same thing happens.
You just get like 5?
You get 10. It's bad timing.
Oh.
You can't do worse than bad timing.
Oh.
Like I said, it's nearly impossible not to get 5. The stone you throw, though, is random. There's random stone types, and the stones bounce differently. There's one stone type that if you get all bad will get 4. But I just kind of rely on not having it happen. And now, airboat riding. This would normally be a shooting gallery type section where we try and get points. However, points will give us prizes at the end of the course. I don't want prizes. This target? I think I missed it. These targets? Maybe later. But at intervals, the boat will be attacked by alligators. And in these segments, there is one alligator that is important. It's this one in the bottom right. Killing that alligator will immediately advance the scene. There's only one necessary alligator to kill. The rest are just bonus points. We don't want bonus points. One alligator specifically holds up the whole thing there, and you gotta just know which one. I worked that out by trial and error. Same thing here, more alligators spawn in, but the one that spawns in the bottom right-ish is the only one that actually has to be killed and immediately advances the game as soon as you do. Is this game like if Yakuza was horror adjacent or something? You know, that's not the worst analog I've ever heard. But, Yakuza is a lot more polished. But the essence, I suppose, is fairly similar. Anyway. Goal! I have gained 400 points, which unavoidably causes me to gain a rubber box of bullets, which is actually pretty handy given my position, but also I get mint gum for free. There is no way to not get mint gum. You always get 400 points. Right, we have been taken over the swamp. We walk forward and immediately everything is now red and bad. And once again, attempting to ride the skateboard will have it fail more often than not. I also skateboarded in the wrong direction. We don't need to kill anything here, we just need to advance to the next point. I actually got away with skateboarding for a while there. This area is a bit too narrow for comfortable skateboarding. There we go. This'll do. I gotta get off. This guy's in the way. No, move, man. He's blocking the way. Traffic. Just go. Just board, man. I don't know why it keeps kicking you off the board, but like it's worth trying to get back on repeatedly, unless the skateboarding does that, where you get stuck in a wall. There's something in my eye. Oh, everything's going wrong. It's a tragedy. Tragedy run. Skateboard. I'm a skater boy. See you later, boy. Okay, I'm out. I'm good. That was a nightmare. Okay, we've made it to the shack where Patricia was taken. And there is a ritual going on. But then the shack burns down because a literal bolt of lightning strikes the place and destroys the whole place. Also, the big woman back there is actually her mother. Turns out like she was being used as a ritual type endeavor to like birth a goddess or some such. You know how these things go. They die. Melvin and Candy, they both die. They burn to death in the shack. Patricia gets out. That's what happened in the cutscene I skipped.
I just love the look of glistening green grass. You know the green.
And here's the famous song. You probably know what this song is, even if you don't know it's from Deadly Premonition.
The radiance of the sun. In that regard, Louisiana's grass is in a class of its own. Just picture it on a clear summer day. A cold beer in one hand, gazing out from your porch onto the garden you're so proud of. This is the life. Doesn't get much better than this. That's how you feel. A well-kept garden and a cold beer, the ultimate combination. They go hand in hand, just like hot dogs and sporting events. But that grass...
So yeah, wait, that's from this? Yes. Commonly known just as whistle-themed to some people, but the actual song's name is Life is Beautiful, and it's from the first Deadly Premonition.
Turn your eyes away for a bit.
It's reused in the sequel.
Really sprout. Up until last week, your garden was perfectly...
But like, it's from this series. More people know this song than know these games.
Wake up the next morning, and you can't even stand to look at what it's become. That's why people work so hard to cut their grass. Like it's some ordeal they've been tasked with by the big man in the sky. Oh. And it never ends. Understand me, Zach? If you want to stop cutting your grass, well, you need to either submit to its growth or force it to wither. That's all humans can really do. Hard work never really gets you anywhere.
Anyway, I hope you're enjoying this philosophy of grass cutting speech going on right now. I just wanted to let you guys listen to the song, but unfortunately this guy talks over it.
Be honest, Francis Zach Morgan.
So the game told us to touch grass. It didn't go well. During that cutscene, York attempted to strangle Aaliyah to death in his apartment. Because we touched his weird things.
What we...
They kind of argue with each other about stuff. Inspect the bed. They're just kind of like poking around the room going like, wow, that's weird.
He isn't in... He can...
Photo of Melvin.
This what it was.
We are entering the final chapter. So we are coming up on the end here. The final chapter is like the shortest chapter by a lot. So we're most of the way done now. But first we must click through investigating these things. A bear and an elk made out to look like the Clarkson family that killed each other. And red seeds at the root of it all. The red seed.
But I still
3 hours is the world record for this game, yes, held by me. Well, I mean, it's more like, what is it, like 2 hours and 56 minutes? But yeah, like basically 3 hours. And we find out via a text message that actually Avery is the one who kidnapped Patricia in the present. You know, the guy who we made hold his hands up, and then, like, he cried. He kidnapped Patricia in the present. Are we gonna crash it live? No, probably not. I, like, let a cutscene play and have been doing marathon things. Live world records are very uncommon, you know? Also, the game crashed at one point. Mashing. Poised Aaliyah. I don't actually know what the timer is at right now, and there's not much point in telling me. I wouldn't be able to do anything with it. I don't know what my splits are that precisely. Is that a fairy? Yes! It is a fairy. It looks like a character from the first game who died.
You. Here you bet.
Yeah, so we basically tell Aaliyah that's like, you know, you're a good detective and you actually like do police stuff, but you don't have magical powers, so you suck. And then our fairy releases us from our handcuffs.
What?
But how could you have known that?
And we escape the confines of the apartment because of pizza. It's a whole thing there about pizza receipts and the names on them that leads Simon to betraying his partner and letting us go free. So we catch the immediate next flight out back to Louisiana to take revenge in the present, back in the cold storage warehouse to find the kidnapped Patricia. I don't know, the plot is moving a mile a minute at this point. Like, trying to compress it down is... Anyway, final dungeon crawling. Speaking of crawling, now crawler enemies exist. They curse you, which is inconvenient to say the least. Void! That's the third enemy type, is the Void! Crits, please. Crits. Give me the crits. Right, they're on the ceiling, but you can just run past them. Don't worry about them. They can't handle it. Rude. Ooh. That guy spawned in behind me. Dude, bullet spread Y. Again, I gotta concentrate on these fights. It's not, like, difficult per se, there's not much risk of death. But I gotta, like, keep track of it, otherwise it gets away from you. Yeah, so I'm gonna try and be more on the ball about this, but there's something in the last dungeon area called the Mega Snarf, where an extremely loud noise takes place. I will warn you, I will try and do a good job of warning you when it comes up, but you might want to turn your volume up for it instead of down. You know, if you really want to experience the Mega Snarf. But to be clear, it's very loud. If you want like a loud noise to blow your ears off, volume go down. But on the other hand, it is really funny. Usually what happens is, on stream, I forget to tell people it's about to happen until 2 seconds before it is about to happen. And I go, oh yeah, by the way, Mega Snarf incoming, and everyone goes, ow.
So the question is, preserve your hearing or listen to something that's kind of funny.
There's a crawler behind me. No, sit down. There we go. They sat down. Cranking volume to the max. Just a whole lot of noises will play in sequence. Please be prepared. This enemy has to die. Get the crits. Get the crits. For some reason, just those two crawlers are what needs to die in order to make progress here. No, crits, crits. I need the crits. Okay. I've advanced through 4-2. 4-3 and 4-4 remain. 4-4 is where the Mega Snarf is. I am going to do slightly unconventional. Holy moly, I have so many anti-nums. That is an outrageous quantity. Nobody needs that many anti-nums. Ignore this, ignore that. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. You need to die. You also need to die. They are all dead. Excellent. Only those 3 enemies have to die for this door. No, do not hit me. Oh yeah, this is the slightly differently colored variant of the crawler enemy. And their gimmick is that crits barely work on them. All the more powerful variants of enemies, like that slightly greener one back there, the main gimmick seems to be that they just make critical hits not work properly. Like, when you have the purple door enemy, if you shoot them in the head, you do extra damage, and it stuns them out of their attack. The green ones, when you shoot them in the head, nothing happens. It doesn't work. I'm not sure if that's intentional or if it's a bug. Due to the nature of deadly premonition, I can't tell. That was not the Giga Snarf, but that was still quite loud. But before the final dungeon segment, we must do one last spot of metaphysical profiling.
What?
And this is another, like, look into the past type deal, where the body was in fact being stored in the cold storage warehouse the whole time. Advanced cryogenics were being used. Crazy. Being gawked at by this guy who takes on a much different appearance when under the influence of the drug. That's why he's so big.
What?
And as the ultimate villain of the game, it basically just kind of turns out that he had the hots for the girl who died, and that's why he kidnapped Patricia in the end, because they kind of look similar. So he was like horny on main, so like that's why he kidnapped someone, I guess. I don't know, it's a bit flimsy if I'm being honest. This isn't really so much like the ultimate antagonist, so much as it's just kind of a thing that happens after. Anyway, final dungeon area. Step 1, kill this guy. I love my crits. Kill that one too. You may notice that when they spawn in, you can get one free shot on them, because while they're spawning in, even though you shoot them in the door, it doesn't like count as them blocking the bullet. So you can get a free headshot on them that way. Shoot barrel, shoot barrel, shoot barrel. That, for some reason, didn't kill this enemy. Shoot barrel. This is going well. There we go. Yikes. Alright. Giga Snarf coming up in the next room. So, yeah, volume.
Alright, let's see how loud this is.
I feel like I'm hyping it up too much now, but I do still think the volume warning is warranted. Yeah. In this room, this door, lies what I call the Giga Snarf. It is quite loud. Turn volume down if you don't want your ears blasted, turn it up if you do.
Alright, let's see. I'm curious how loud he is. Oh, God. Okay, I get it. Oh, God.
Yeah. Was it everything you dreamed of and more?
I thought it was going to be like one really big guy just was really loud. I didn't realize there was like 6 of them.
It's called, I call it the Giga Snarf.
I had my volume at a reasonable level, so
I flinched. Like, I flinch when it comes up. It's like a lot.
Also, I wear the hat. It covers my ears.
What? Dude, random bullet spread is ruining my life. Volume was not up enough. I failed to see how that's my problem. But regardless, kill them all, move on, that's the last thing. You guys are saying that wasn't loud? Maybe it doesn't come off as loud in the stream, but it's loud as hell in my ears. It definitely peaks audio. Well, regardless, let's fight the final boss. It's like a sequence. Here's Avery. He's big. walk slowly so you can kind of just pump charge shots into him until he goes away? I now need to pop a coffee because I'm out of concentration gauge. 2 cups of coffee will do. Why am I in this menu? I don't want to be in that menu. I have killed the first phase of Avery. And now, Avery 2 happens. He's now big and child. We want him to do that slap attack because it gives me a clear shot on his little Walkman. Do it again, please. Thank you. Alright, so while he's like walking over there, he walks to throw the barrel, so I just kind of gotta wait it out. This allows my vision gauge in the top left, it's the eye icon to... Oh wow, he just went in straight again. Good. That's great RNG. He went straight in again. Walkman. It's a Walkman. What do you want from me? But then he do the big stompy. I can't hurt him during the big stompy. He needs to do the big slam. Ah, he's walking over the barrels. Sad gaming. See, like 3, 3, 3. Sad damage. Do the slap. Yeah, good on you, mate. Not bad. I've had worse fights.
And they gave you $700.
Is this the one you asked him to raise his hand to see if he was thought to be the bad guy and you thought he wasn't? Yeah, turns out he actually is totally tall enough to be the bad guy. I'm shooting in the... No, I'm shooting... No, his weak point is the Walkman. Like, it's not his body. It's the Walkman, but without his hands in front of it. It's like the only boss where the weak point is, like, not a bit of the body. It's an object attached to it.
Oh, welcome, Zack, to the red world. You become such a...
I become a monster. York becomes a monster. He succumbs to the funny otherworld juices or whatever. We become a big old tree monster. And that's bad. So now we're going to look at objects aggressively until we stop doing that. We look at Patty and we're like, oh. And we look at the San Rouge and we're like, oh. We look at Aaliyah, who's now pointing a gun at us, and Forrest. This guy is a demon. That's the shortest way to explain what his deal is. He's bad guy. He's currently possessing Aaliyah to shoot us in the face with a gun. We would prefer that this not happen. Why am I in this menu? Coffee! Coffee now!
I'm warning you.
Of all the final bosses, I didn't think it was going to be this guy flying.
Patricia Clarkson, I'm here to save you.
She gains new moves at this point. She gains a very powerful poison projectile. It's like basically undodgeable, it tracks. I'm out of coffee again, I need coffee. I need coffee IRL as well, honestly. I don't even drink coffee IRL. But I feel like I need coffee IRL. QTE, that can interrupt your charge. It's really unfortunate. B. You do damage with it though, so it's not like a complete wash. Unfortunately, it sets you up to get immediately owned by her next attack because this game is really cool. There we go. How much charge do I have left?
You are the suspect, Morgan.
Stop
You're
that.
on death row. And it's time for you are the suspect, Morgan.
I am dying, and that is bad. Why are you opening the map? For what reason? Cut it out, man. Time is coming up. Time. That's time. Right there. That charge shot did more damage than I thought it would.
And then he just...
I killed Kaysen with bullet. Oh goodness. What was the time? What did I end up getting?
I think 258 or so.
250, yeah, that's fine.
Oh, let me double check.
Come again? I didn't. I talked over you. I'm sorry.
257.59.
Not bad. Honestly, considering the game crashed, that was actually really good. My PB's like 256 or something. Alright, but check out this final cutscene. As a reward for like actually finishing Underestimate, we get to see this. Dun, dun, dun.
It just keeps going on him.
Red tree! And he explodes. He's dead.
Why did his eye just fly out? Like, why only the eye?
I don't know. I simply don't know.
Zach! Hey, Zach! Wake up! Zach! No! You can't...
Zachary is fine. Aaliyah is also fine. Honestly, this whole ending stretch is like quite long. So, cutscene skip it is. Directed by Swery. A Swery game. Art direction Shuho Imai. And that's all the credits we got. I'm skipping the credits. I want to see my IGT. This game isn't like timed IGT, but it feels like a fitting place to cap off on. Yep, IGT 257.54. That's not bad. Honestly, for being sleep deprived and having the game crash right at the start, that was actually a pretty good run. I had fairly good luck during that.
The real question, though, is would you like to celebrate with bowling?
Would I like to celebrate with bowling? Would I like to celebrate with... Am I allowed to celebrate with...
Go for it. I mean, like, you know, it's the only run of the night. I mean, go for it.
All right, where's my save file? Load the new game plus save file.
Unaware, for Deadly Premonition 2 runs, whenever a run is completed, you can celebrate at the bowling alley by doing a game of bowling. Tradition
for the stream that I have made up is to celebrate after a completed run by playing a game of Deadly Premonition 2 bowling. The full frames. Stand about here. Pitch the ball. That might have been too left. Oh, don't open. Don't open with a poor throw. No, it's a strike. It's a strike. We're off on the wrong foot. Off on the right foot, rather. I'm too tired for this. I'm too tired.
You bowled a strike.
I bowled a strike. That's the wrong foot. I should have bowled a strike +1, you know? Hit the one pin that hasn't even been placed yet. Oh, what a nightmare. Bowling, mate, yeah. Always celebrate with a post-run game of bowling on this stream. They wouldn't let me do this on Big Bad Game-a-thon.
Aww.
You can't do bowling. Can't just add bowling to the run. I didn't know.
Bowling incentive.
To be clear, that's a joke. I never actually asked to do bowling. By the time I ran this game at Big Bad Game-a-thon not too long ago, but by the time I finished that run, it was like 9 a.m. my time. Instead, it's merely 6 a.m. my time right now.
That's why bowling is loud. Split.
on that disappointing note. On that disappointing note, we'll call it there. I'm not bowling out the rest of the game.
You couldn't get 300. Bowling is done.
I can't. No perfect bowling game. Forget about it, man. All right, that's Deadly Premonition.
That being said, any shout-outs you want to give, and if people want to find you, where can they find you?
If you want to find me, you can find me at twitch.tv/punchy. I see everyone's been giving shout-outs in the chat pretty often, so I think you've probably seen it by now, but I'm also at Twitter at succinct_punchy. I'd very much like to shout out, I've shouted them out multiple times during the run, but I'm going to do it again anyway. I'd very much like to shout out Roaming Merc for their work on the dungeon mapping and general information regarding the routing. The route wouldn't be anywhere near as good without him. I sure as anything would not have bothered to route the dungeons so precisely without his work. Especially the chapter 3 weird shack kills. I had no idea what was going on with that without his help. It was very invaluable to me, so thank you very much. Yeah, that's Deadly Premonition 2. A blessing in disguise.
Thank you again, Punchy. And while he couldn't get the perfect game of bowling, I think it was a pretty good run.
It was a pretty good run. That went well.
It was. All right. Well, everyone, I hope you all enjoyed tonight's show of Speedruns from the Crypt. It was fun. Like I said, this was a much longer run for the night, so this is our only run. However, the fun does not go away. You can always check out more VODs over on Games Done Quick's YouTube. You can find that at youtube.com/GamesDoneQuick. You can find a lot of the VODs there. We do have it for all of the shows. As well, I have been your host, Icdisis. I run these shows, and I talk a lot about horror games in general. You can find me in various degrees somewhere over here. I'm on Icdisis everywhere. So that is how that works. Anyway, we're going to be wrapping up for the night, but before I do go, I just want to remind you that we do have the Halloween special spooktacular coming on up on Monday. It's going to be on Halloween Day, and it should be a fun time. As well, I guess as a special treat, especially since a couple of the runners, me and Punchy will both be running on that. I'm actually going to be talking a little bit about that on my own stream. So we're going to actually be rating over there so I can kind of talk to you about a lot of this. I don't get to do this quite often, so if you ever wondered how does Speedruns from the Crypt work or how's the Halloween hotfix work, you can find out there. Anyway, I guess I'll be seeing you in a moment, so have a good night, everyone.